Chapter 871. I do not agree with what you said. Although those strong ancient races are few in number, and have withdrawn from the struggle for hegemony in the Kunlun realm long ago, settling on the stars in the outer realm, every single one of them is a fool in the Kunlun realm. However, every single one of them is considered a fool in the Kunlun realm, an outstanding talent that only 1 in 10,000 could find. When they pick out the absolute demonic geniuses, they are all targeting Diwuk. That's right. After all, senior brother Xiaochen's cultivation is still too low. It would be a pity to waste 2 years. Why are you all boosting the morale of others and diminishing our own? No matter what, senior brother Xiaochen is still a member of our Haotian sect. How can others compare to him? The junior generation disciples discussed, comparing Xiaochen to some of the famous new geniuses. When Han Qinghe saw the juniors arguing endlessly, he revealed a satisfied expression. No matter what, the Haotian sect being able to produce a legendary character like Xiaochen was a great boost to the morale of the sect. Han Qinghe stretched out his hand and gathered the inner sect elders on the drill ground. He said, "Everyone, are you all satisfied with the strength that Xiaochen displayed earlier?" "Ha! Just look at First Elder's smile, and you will know the answer. Naturally, there is no need for us to say anything. Indeed. Right now, Xiaochen has nothing to fear when facing a regular superior grade martial sage." When Xiaochen saw the expressions of the elders, he entered deep thought. This group of people seemed to be implying something. Indeed, Han Qinghe continued, "Good. In that case, there should be no objections to letting Xiaochen lead the mission that Bushin Palace sent, right?" The others all shook their heads, indicating that they had no objections. However, Xiaochen did not understand. Han Qinghe turned his head and said, "Xiaochen, you just returned to the Kunlun realm and probably do not have time to rest. Now that the world is in chaos, I believe you will not be able to stay idle." Without batting an eyelid, Xiaochen looked at Han Qinghe and said, "First Elder, feel free to speak your mind. As long as it is within Xiaochen's capabilities, I will definitely be duty-bound." Han Qinghe nodded slightly and said, "One of the resource planets controlled by the Bushin Palace has been invaded by the Corpse God Palace. 3 months ago, the Primal Chaos Domain's Muddy Sky Sect's young master brought a group of loose cultivators to fish in troubled waters. The Bushin Palace sent a request for help to the 9 ranks of the great families. Our Haotian sect is one of them. Originally, I planned to arrange for you to go to the Starry Sky Silver Lake, the place where the battle between the 5 races is the most dangerous. However, this order just arrived yesterday. Now most of the superior grade martial sages of the Haotian sect have gone to the Starry Heaven Silver Lake. Your appearance has solved my urgent problem." No wonder the First Elder personally welcomed Xiaochen, allowing him to test out his moves. It looked like this was the biggest reason. Since Xiaochen received favors from others, he had to repay them. Coincidentally, he had been in closed-door cultivation for 2 years. He needed to test out what he had learned and comprehended in actual combat. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen agreed to Han Qinghe's request. After obtaining Xiaochen's confirmation, Han Qinghe heaved a sigh of relief. He dismissed the other elders and said to Xiaochen, "In the vast universe, there are countless stars. The ones that can be called resource planets are few and far between. The number of resource planets controlled by the Bushin Palace is also extremely limited. Losing even one would be a great loss. If you can protect this resource planet, the Bushin Palace will give you significant benefits. Furthermore, it will be counted as military merits. If you can obtain a noble title from the Bushin Palace, you will have a large monthly income. The higher the noble title, the more benefits. I will not elaborate on this. You will understand it in the future. What I want to tell you is to do your best to protect this group of sect disciples who are going with you to provide support. These are the seedlings of the sect. Their futures are limitless. The battlefield is cruel and merciless. If they die, they die. This time, it is not experiential training or a sect mission. It is a true battlefield." At the end, Han Qinghe's expression turned grave. Since the chaos in the Kunlun realm started, several older generation people and outstanding youths had fallen. They were all famous experts. Sensing the seriousness in the First Elder's words, Xiaochen sighed silently to himself. The current chaos was the doing of the peak powerhouses of the various races. There was bound to be great fortuitous encounters in great chaos. There would definitely be several Grandmaster-level martial sages. However, the price was too high. Come, follow me to the Heavenly Battle Palace. I have already decided on the candidates. We are just waiting for you. In a few breaths, the two arrived at the Heavenly Battle Palace. Xiaochen glanced at the sect disciples going to provide support. There were about 20 of them, all of them inferior grade martial sages. In terms of cultivation, they were not much weaker than Xiaochen. This startled Xiaochen. Han Qinghe explained and understood. These disciples had all consumed the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring Pill refined from the blood of Xiaochen and Shui Lingling. Thanks to this fortuitous encounter, they had all advanced to martial sage in 2 years. The outstanding ones among them, like Yu Chenxi, Gong Yangyu and the others, had already followed Shui Lingling to the starry heaven Silver Lake. That was an even more dangerous battlefield with even greater fortuitous encounters. As Xiaochen sized up this group of people, these juniors sized him up as well. All of them were unruly, their eyes filled with pride. This made sense. Even in this age of geniuses, they could be proud of being able to advance to martial sage at such a young age. Several disciples recognized Xiaochen. Shock filled their eyes. However, after the shock passed, they felt even more surprise. After not seeing him for 2 years, Xiaochen was actually still a middle-stage inferior grade martial sage. These disciples could not help but scoff at him. This legendary figure was nothing more than this. Han Qinghe pointed to this group of juniors and said, Xiaochen, I'll leave him to you. I'll leave him to you this time. First Elder, we did not have any objections to you letting Xiaochen lead us 2 years ago. However, aren't you taking this descendant of the Qing Emperor too seriously now? As soon as Elder Han finished speaking, someone immediately snorted coldly, expressing their dissatisfaction. A few more people followed suit, expressing that letting someone with a similar cultivation base as them lead the team would definitely not give them any battle merits. The one who spoke first was a youth wearing black battle armor and carrying a scarlet saber on his back. He was tall and burly, with a stocky back and a stocky waist. He was taller than Xiaochen, who was 1.8 meters tall. This youth had a squarish face, thick eyebrows and large eyes. His eyes filled with arrogance. He did not hold back his sharpness at all as he looked at Xiaochen boldly. Xiaochen remained calm. He did not feel that this person had any malicious intent. Youths were naturally proud. Now that someone of similar age as them became their leader, they would naturally feel dissatisfied. This was especially so for the cultivation that Xiaochen currently displayed. He was indeed only a middle-stage inferior grade martial sage. In the past 2 years, Xiaochen had vanished without a trace. It would be hard to avoid rumors spreading about him. Han Qinghe smiled faintly and did not say anything. He watched quietly as Xiaochen treated him like this. He believed that Xiaochen would be able to deal with such a small matter easily. Xiaochen had a name list that Han Qinghe had given him. It recorded the detailed information of these 20 disciples. With a glance, he found this person's information. After a while, Xiaochen put away the information and looked up at this person. He said, Jin Lin, 26 years old this year, late-stage inferior grade martial sage. Superior talent, excellent aptitude, extremely high talent for the saber. And his saber intent has reached 70% comprehension. He once fought with the Full Moon Pavilion's Feng Xingsheng. However, he suffered a crushing defeat, unable to last even 10 moves. This information seems somewhat contradictory. He could not even last 10 moves from Feng Xingsheng, and he dares to claim that his talent for the saber is extremely high? This is too much. When Jin Lin heard Xiaochen read out his information, he felt somewhat pleased. Although his experience could not compare to Xiaochen's from 2 years ago, he could still be considered a new talent that had risen up in recent years. His fame had spread far and wide. Although Jin Lin had lost to Feng Xingsheng, it was a glorious defeat. Everyone knew that Feng Xingsheng had become famous at a young age, the top bladesman of the 18 southern provinces. Now that another 2 years had passed, Feng Xingsheng's saber intent had reached 90% comprehension. His strength now rivaled the peak geniuses of the various races. Jin Lin's saber intent was weaker than Feng Xingxing's in both cultivation and saber intent. He only lost after 10 moves. However, Xiao Chen's casual words made him look like he was worthless. Jin Lin was already dissatisfied in the first place. Naturally, he did not want to endure any longer. He stepped forward and raised his head, revealing a sharp gaze as he said, "Senior brother Xiao Chen, you are known as the white-robed bladesman. 2 years ago, you became famous in the Kunlun realm. Jin Lin is untalented and would like to seek guidance from senior brother on the saber." However, Han Qinghe smiled bitterly to himself. Of all the things to compete with, he had to compete with Xiao Chen. When Han Qinghe thought about his earlier exchange with Xiao Chen, the memory of it was still fresh in his mind. Xiao Chen's 2 punches had taken a different path, moving in an unorthodox manner. They still looked somewhat immature. However, given time, Xiao Chen would definitely form his own faction, becoming a peerless saber emperor. Thinking of this, Han Qinghe could not help but send a voice projection. "Xiao Chen, take it easy. This Jin Lin is a seedling that even our elders think highly of. He can be considered the disciple with the most potential in this batch of juniors." Even without the first elder saying so, I can tell. However, if jade is not polished, it will not be useful. I have my own intentions in provoking him to compete with the saber. When Han Qinghe heard what Xiao Chen said, he heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was greatly astonished. If it were in the past, Xiao Chen would not have hesitated so much in such a situation. He would have rushed forward and struck at lightning speed, instantly shocking everyone. The air of a grandmaster. These words suddenly appeared in Han Qinghe's mind. His expression trembled as he recalled the first time he saw Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's bearing and posture could not be wrong. He indeed had the air of a grandmaster. These words were no small matter. Han Qinghe was an experienced person and deeply understood the principle behind them. Several superior grade martial sages could not advance to grandmaster level martial sage in their lifetime. What did they lack? It was the air of a grandmaster. Even the bearing and posture were insufficient. As of now, Xiao Chen already had the air of a grandmaster at such a young age. In Xiao Chen's eyes, this group of unruly people before him was not someone of the same generation mocking him. Naturally, he treated them as a group of juniors who wanted to improve themselves. As long as Xiao Chen advanced to superior grade martial sage, he would be able to advance to grandmaster level martial sage immediately. A 30-year-old grandmaster level martial sage. Han Qinghe came to this conclusion. When he looked at Xiao Chen, his expression changed drastically. In these 2 years, while Xiao Chen's cultivation seemed to have lagged behind his peers, once he reached the threshold of grandmaster level martial sage, Xiao Chen would be able to instantly surpass everyone else. By the time those people comprehended the importance of the air of a grandmaster, Xiao Chen would have accumulated many years of experience. With his talent and comprehension ability, he might even be able to comprehend the heart of an emperor and trample on all the geniuses of this age. Chapter 872. The crowd in the Great Hall had already moved to the side, leaving a wide space for Xiao Chen and Jin Lin. Jin Lin looked at Xiao Chen. This was a name that resounded like thunder in his ears 2 years ago. Aside from nervousness, he felt even more excitement. A fanatical flame slowly lit up in his eyes. After standing still, Jin Lin said somewhat unhappily, "Senior brother Xiao Chen, are you looking down on me that much? You are not even drawing your saber." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Just draw your saber. You will be able to see my saber later." Acting mysterious, Jin Lin thought to himself. He grasped the saber hilt with his broad hand and drew the scarlet saber. Then, he glared at Xiao Chen and shouted. Immediately, blood waves surged out. Jin Lin pushed off the ground and left the ground. It was like he was standing on a surging blood wave. Xiao Chen executed the blood wave saber technique that he was proficient in. When he executed it, each wave would be stronger than the one before. Back then, Feng Xingxing had praised Xiao Chen's blood wave saber technique. Xiao Chen had said that Xiao Chen would not need 5 years to truly fight with him. Kasie. Xiao Chen's figure flashed. Suddenly, a resonant saber hum resounded, like a treasured saber being drawn from its scabbard. The clear and melodious sound even contained the tyrannical aura of a monarch. If one was familiar with Xiao Chun, they would know that Xiao Chun had modified his tyrannical aura of a monarch and added it to his newly comprehended saber Dao. Jin Lin thought he was seeing things. He clearly saw the saber appear, but why did he hear the sound of a treasured saber being drawn? A saber wind blew, and Xiao Chun brushed by at lightning speed. Wuxia. Jin Lin discovered that his protective heavenly sage laws broke, and an eye-catching saber mark appeared on the battle armor on his chest. He felt a slight chill on his chest. The saber had only broken his armor, but did not leave any wounds on him. His heart turned pale with fright, and he quickly withdrew his move. He turned around and rolled up the blood wolf, just in time to find Xiao Chun, who had circled behind him and kicked him. It was clearly a foot, but it gave Xiao Chun the feeling of a saber light chopping down from below. The saber intent was boundless, and the sound of sabers humming filled the air. Xiao Chun could not even hold the scarlet saber in his hand stably. By the time he swung his saber to block the kick, he discovered that it was already too late. This kick easily broke through his protective laws and left a clear saber mark on his left shoulder. Retreat! Retreat! It was too strange. Jin Lin hurriedly retreated. He wanted to familiarize himself with Xiao Chun's moves before coming up with a countermeasure. The blood wolf beneath his feet churned as he flew backward. However, Xiao Chun followed closely behind. His figure flickered, and unparalleled sabers appeared everywhere. The resonant saber hum never stopped. Xiao Chun's movements were as smooth as flowing water, pleasing to the eye. However, they were filled with killing intent. After 10 moves, Jin Lin's battle armor had too many wounds. With a huangdang sound, it shattered into pieces. Xiao Chun's figure flashed again, and he turned his body to the side and charged at Jin Lin. He was like a huge saber, using his body as the blade and his shoulder as the tip as he chopped down from above. Bang! The heavenly sage law barrier in front of Jin Lin easily broke in half. The mysterious phenomenon that the blood wave saber technique created also completely scattered. Xiao Chun paled and fell to the ground, staggering. Xiao Chun landed together with Ai Te and stood across from him. Then he silently glanced at Jin Lin. Xiao Chun's gaze pierced through space, and the vague form of his saber soul containing the immortal will of thunder shot out with Xiao Chun's gaze. In that instant, Jin Lin felt countless powerful sabers flying at him. In the next moment, he was pierced by thousands of sabers, dying without a complete corpse. Jin Lin retreated continuously. He carelessly fell to the ground and touched his undamaged body. He muttered in a daze, "Didn't I die? How am I still alive?" This scene was rather comical. To others, Jin Lin was clearly standing perfectly fine. After taking a few steps back, he muttered to himself that he was dead. The other 19 disciples all started laughing. Jin Lin reacted. He thought back to Xiao Chun's final glance. At that time, he had indeed thought that he had died. That feeling of death was simply too real. Unimaginable. Unimaginable. Jin Lin stood up and looked at Xiao Chun. He felt that Xiao Chun was unfathomable, completely unfathomable. I concede defeat wholeheartedly. Jin Lin's saber techniques are indeed not worth mentioning. Jin Lin performed a cup fist salute, not daring to look Xiao Chun in the eye. In that final glance, aside from the vague form of his saber soul and the immortal will of thunder, Xiao Chun had also used some of the tricks from the Qing emperor's drawing the saber painting. After studying the drawing the saber painting for a long time, Xiao Chun had gained something. Xiao Chun had ingeniously merged some of these techniques with his own comprehensions of using the will as a saber. In the future, when he reached great perfection, killing someone with one glance would not be a fantasy. Xiao Chun's original intention was not to intimidate the other party. When he saw Jin Lin's current performance, he felt that Jin Lin had met his expectations. He said, "You are already someone who died once. You can properly comprehend that final glance. You will definitely gain something." Jin Lin remained silent, entering deep thought as he carefully pondered Xiao Chun's final words. Han Qinghe spoke up at an appropriate time. He smiled and said, "Now, who else is still unconvinced? Feel free to challenge senior brother Xiao Chun in saber techniques." Everyone shook their heads. After seeing Jin Lin's end, who would dare to be unconvinced by Xiao Chun? Han Qinghe smiled in satisfaction. Then he walked over to Xiao Chun and said somewhat apologetically, Xiao Chun, these are extraordinary times. All the king-grade warships in the sect have been transferred to the Starry Heaven Silver Lake. We simply cannot take out a king-grade warship. I have a strengthened sage-grade warship here. It should be able to travel in the Starry Heavens. There is no need. I happen to have a king-grade warship. Xiao Chun opened his mouth, and an awe-inspiring king-grade warship with a blue dragon carved on it appeared in the sky. It gave off a boundless and vast aura of kingship. The Dragon's Gates warship. It really is the Dragon's Gates warship. Legend has it that the Qing Emperor personally forged it. The Dragon's Gates warship is a dragon among kings. As long as the Emperor-grade warship does not appear, it can suppress all king-grade warships. Now that the Dragon's Gates warship appears, we will definitely be able to return victorious. Back then, the Dragon's Gates warship swept through the place unrivaled. When the group of juniors saw the Dragon's Gates warship appear, they all cheered. Without needing Han Qinghe to say anything, they immediately jumped aboard and sized up the warship excitedly. Seeing the juniors of the king-grade warship in high spirits, Han Qinghe smiled somewhat helplessly. He said to Xiao Chun, I'll leave these juniors to you. I'll wait for your good news at Haotian Star. We will meet again in the future. Xiao Chun gently leaped onto the Dragon's Gates warship. Then he waved his hand, and 18 sails with talisman scripts on them soared up. In the blink of an eye, the Dragon's Gates warship soared into the clouds, carrying a group of juniors filled with lofty aspirations as they traveled through the vast starry heavens. The universe was boundlessly vast. From the perspective of a cultivator, the Kunlun realm star system at the core was already boundlessly vast. Without comprehending the Tao of space-time, even the blue-robed emperor would not be able to fly out. There were countless stars of many different kinds. However, among the many stars, the ones that could be discovered by the various factions of the Kunlun realm were known as resource stars. Even though the Bushin Palace was a huge faction, it controlled a limited number of resource stars in the starry domains around the Kunlun realm, no more than 10. Every resource star contained boundless wealth, all sorts of rare ores, and countless spirit veins. Every year, the Bushin Palace received a large share of resources. That was why the Bushin Palace was able to distribute them to the various major sects of the Tianwu domain. Out of 10 resource stars, losing one would be a huge blow to the Kunlun realm. With the start of the Great Chaos, the peak powerhouses of the 5 major races purposely withdrew the Grandmaster-level martial sages, the blue-robed emperor, and Emperor Wu from the resource stars. They created many cruel battles. Amid the chaos, the Bushin Palace already lost 2 resource stars. Now the 3rd resource star, Dragonwood Star, was also in danger. Most of the surface of Dragonwood Star was covered by the sea. The vast sea was dotted with islands that looked like stars. On this star, which was entirely made up of sea, controlling the islands was equivalent to controlling the surrounding sea region. Be it the spirit plants at the bottom of the sea, the deep sea or veins, or the resource mines on the islands, they all needed an island as a base to continue operating. Hence, the fight for the islands became extremely important. A majestic city stood on the largest island of Dragonwood Star. There were 1 million citizens in the city. It looked no different from the cities of the Kunlun realm. The only difference was that the people in the city were either powerless ordinary people or martial monarch experts. It was not strange that there were so many ordinary people on a resource star. The excavation of all sorts of ore veins required a lot of manpower. This was not very dangerous or technical, requiring only ordinary physical strength. It would be overkill for cultivators to do it. The main purpose of cultivators on a resource star was to protect these ordinary people from astral beasts. However, in this chaotic period, cultivators spent most of their time fighting the corpse race. The headquarters of the Bushin Palace was built on this island, on a tall mountain in the middle of the island. Built against the mountain, there were rows of defensive towers and huge, sturdy stone houses. There weren't many fancy buildings, and everything was built for practicality. After the summit of the mountain was flattened, a majestic palace was built. Inside the palace, the current administrator of Dragonwood Star, Huang Pufeng, looked at the physical map on the table, somewhat at a loss as to what to do. The map was like a miniature version of Dragonwood Star. All the important islands were concentrated in it. From the flags on the islands, one could see the grim situation that the Bushan Palace faced. The blue flags representing the Bushan Palace were all gathered together. The black flag representing the Corpse God Palace was like an overbearing arrow aimed at the defense line of the Bushan Palace. In a place far away from the two factions, there was the Muddy Sky Gate, which wanted to take advantage of the situation and take a share of the spoils. They eyed the two factions covetously and could not be underestimated. Whoosh! A flying sword pierced through the wall and appeared in the room. This was the unique flying sword communication technique of the Bushan Palace. Huang Pufeng stretched out his hand, and the information in the sword immediately entered his mind. His expression could not help but turn unsightly. The second line of defense had fallen as well. The 308 martial monarchs, 100 half-sages, 30 inferior-grade martial sages, and 10 medial-grade martial sages guarding the island all died in battle. Only 3 superior-grade martial sages managed to escape. Chapter 873. The chaos that the sovereign martial emperors purposely created looked like child's play. However, their cruelty was startling. The tragic slaughter and the disappearance of one life after another caused everyone to face the grim reality. This was not some experiential training they had discussed. Instead, it was a true massacre. One had to put in their all. Otherwise, they might just die. Only the strongest survivors could face the future demonic god blood sacrifice. If they did not be more ruthless to themselves now, they would not be able to accept a one-sided massacre when the time came. Huang Pufeng pulled out the small blue flags on the map and replaced them with the black flags representing the Corpse God Palace. Then he sighed and said, "The first and second lines of defense are already broken. Now, only the last 3 lines of defense remain." Reporting. Feng Xingxing received orders from the Bushan Palace to bring 30 martial sages of the Full Moon Pavilion to provide reinforcements. Reporting. Shiman Bao received orders from the Bushan Palace to bring 20 martial sages of the Shiman clan to provide reinforcements. Reporting. Niu Deng received orders from the Bushan Palace to bring 30 martial sages of the 10 Great Battle Realms to provide reinforcements. Reporting. Hua Dao received orders from the Bushan Palace to bring 20 martial sages of the Thousand Mystery sect to provide reinforcements. Reporting. Bai Wuxia received orders from the Bushan Palace to bring 40 martial sages of the Extreme Yin sect to provide reinforcements. Just as Huang Pufeng frowned in worry, the cultivators outside came in with reports. When Huang Pufeng heard them, he could not help but rejoice. Reinforcements had finally arrived. Based on the quality of these reinforcements, the various 9 ranks of the great families had indeed put in a lot of effort. Most of the martial sages that their sects had not sent to the starry heaven Silver Lake had come. However, there seemed to be one sect that had not come yet, the Haotian sect. After thinking about it, Huang Pufeng did not place much hope on them. The Haotian sect had once had 2 people soak in the heavenly dew divine spring. Of them, Shaochen had absorbed a lot of the essence of the divine spring. The 2 people's blood had refined the heavenly dew divine spring pill, which far surpassed the other sects, causing the Haotian sect's strength to soar. Now that the great chaos had started, the elite martial sages of the Haotian sect were all sent to the starry heaven Silver Lake. Compared to the other 9 ranks of the great families, they would not be able to bring many martial sages. Furthermore, most of them would be inferior-grade martial sages. Feng Xingxing, Shiman Bao, Bai Wuxia, and the others chatted in the plaza outside the palace. Several older generation martial sages with strong auras stood behind them. There were very few younger generation martial sages. Among them, there was no lack of medial-grade martial sages. The 5 people leading them were incredibly strong, all possessing the combat prowess of a superior-grade martial sage. Amid the great chaos, these absolute geniuses all improved at lightning speed. Bai Wuxia's divine energy was the most horrifying. He was the only one among the 6 who had comprehended a will. He was also the only demonic genius who had been to the Starry Sky Silver Lake. By the way, Brother Bai, weren't you at the Starry Sky Silver Lake? Why do you have the time to come to this resource planet to provide support? Isn't it a waste of your talent? Shimen Bao said somewhat respectfully to Bai Wuxia. Of course, given Bai Wuxia's current strength, he was indeed worthy of such compliments. Feng Xingxing and the others also looked over curiously. The battles at the Starry Sky Silver Lake were the most intense and dangerous. However, the increase in strength there was also the fastest. Bai Wuxia did not hide anything. He smiled and said, I am ashamed to say this. 1 month ago, I was severely injured by a genius of the newly born ancient Treant race. Fortunately, I managed to survive. After I recuperated, I prepared to rush to the Starry Sky Silver Lake again. However, I was informed that a starry heaven storm was approaching. Soon the Starry Sky Silver Lake will enter a truce. Coincidentally, I received an order from Bushin Palace to send reinforcements, so the sect sent me to this dragonwood star. Bai Wuxia's words sounded humble. However, when the others saw his strength, they did not dare to underestimate him. Even if they did not use their wills, they would not be a match for Bai Wuxia. It looked like Bai Wuxia had indeed gained a lot in the Starry Sky Silver Lake. Niu Deng said with some disbelief. Are those geniuses of the newly born ancient races really that strong? Bai Wuxia's expression turned grave. With some lingering fear in his heart he said, they are very strong, not much weaker than Diwuk. 1 or 2 of them might even be on par with Diwuk. If not for their small population, the Kunlun continent might not be dominated by 5 major races. Shimen Bao took over the conversation and said, no matter what, it looks like Brother Bai gained a lot in the Starry Sky Silver Lake. This time, when we receive the order to send reinforcements, Brother Bai will definitely take the lead and obtain the most military merits. Who knows, you might even be conferred a marquis at Bushin Palace. This was what Bai Wuxia was thinking in his heart. However, he still put on a humble expression. Feng Xingxing felt it was strange. He said, I wonder what kind of people the Haotian sect will send over. I heard that their elites are all at the Starry Sky Silver Lake. Bai Wuxia nodded and said, the Haotian sect is in the limelight at the Starry Sky Silver Lake this time. Aside from Shui Lingling, who is as strong as before, there are also 2 new talents. One is called Yu Chenxi, and the other is called Gong Yangyu. Their growth speed is extremely terrifying. In that case, it looks like they will not be able to send out any decent people this time. They will only be able to go through the motions, and will not be able to obtain many military merits. I wonder who will be leading them this time. It will probably be one of the older generations of the sect. As the group chatted, a group of martial sages wearing Haotian sect identity medallions slowly descended to the plaza at the summit of the mountain. The Haotian sect's people are here. Indeed, they are all inferior grade martial sages. When Bai Wuxia and the others felt the aura of this group of people, they all had an expression of anticipation. However, when they saw the familiar face of the person leading the group, they were all shocked. They had not expected this at all. Xiaochen. Unexpectedly, it is him. Xiaochen put away the Dragon's Gate's warship and descended to the summit with the juniors. He had not expected the leaders of the various sects to be familiar people. Smiling gently, Xiaochen stepped forward and sized up Bai Wuxia and the others. He said, everyone, it has been a long time since we last met. 3 of these people had deep grudges with Xiaochen. Niu Deng and Shimen Bao once worked together, but could not defeat Xiaochen, ruthlessly trampling on them. Bai Wuxia's situation went without saying. He was once one of the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain. However, he had been defeated in front of all the outstanding talents of the world, causing his reputation to plummet. As for the 1,000 mystery sects Hua Dao, although he did not have any grudges with Xiaochen, Xiaochen had smacked his fiancée's nose until it became crooked. Thus, Hua Dao had been suppressing his anger. The only one who did not have any grudges with Xiaochen was the Full Moon Pavilion's Feng Xingxing. However, ever since Xiaochen appeared, Feng Xingxing no longer dared to call himself the top bladesman of the 18 southern provinces. Xiaochen did not know what Feng Xingxing was thinking. Strictly speaking, he did not have any friendship with these 5 people. Inferior grade martial sage? When Bai Wuxia, Niu Deng, and Shimen Bao felt Xiaochen's aura, they exchanged strange glances. They could not help feeling excited. It looked like the news of Xiaochen being trapped for 2 years might be true. Otherwise, How could Xiao Chen's cultivation not have improved at all? After all, in this age, if one did not improve for 1 year, one would be left far behind. Of the three, Niu Deng had the lowest cultivation. However, he was already a medial grade martial sage. Bai Wuxia was even more incredible, already a peak medial grade martial sage. His combat prowess far surpassed that of a regular superior grade martial sage. Brother Xiaochen, it has really been a long time. The three transmitted their voices and discussed for a while. After that, they decided to send Shimen Bao out to test Xiaochen. Shimen Bao strode forward with a warm expression. He stretched out his hand, and strands of law energy gathered in his hand. Then he gently patted Xiaochen's shoulder. Those who did not know would think that the two were good friends who had not seen each other for many years. Xiaochen's expression remained the same. He did not think much of it. He stretched out his hand and patted Shimen Bao's shoulder as well. It was a simple probing, but it was as intense as a mountain torrent. Both sides used their most powerful methods. Shimen Bao turned the 500-odd heavenly sage laws in his body into the image of a heavenly tiger. Then he used a secret technique to merge them together, forming the true heavenly tiger energy. Even an indestructible Iron Man would shatter with a gentle pat from Shimen Bao. However, Xiaochen burned his 1,500 tons of vital qi. The pure energy surged through his body like a heaven dragon soaring. His vital qi immediately reached 2,500 tons of vital qi, half a dragon force. The two placed their hands on each other's shoulders at the same time. Xiaochen's strong rank 3 sage body was as unmoving as a mountain, standing tall. However, Shimen Bao fell to one knee with a plop. His complexion was pale and bloodless. It has been 2 years. Brother Shimen, there is no need to be so polite. Xiaochen smiled faintly and raised his hand. Shimen Bao, who was doing his best to resist, felt his shoulder loosen. He could no longer control the force of his charge, and he flew back. Shimen Bao landed in a hurry. Just as he was about to say something, his left leg, which Xiaochen had patted on his shoulder, went limp, and he fell to the ground in a sorry state. When Niu Deng saw this scene, he could not help rejoicing. Earlier, he had wanted to take the lead, but Shimen Bao snatched it away. Fortunately, he had not fought over it. Otherwise, he would be the one embarrassing himself in front of everyone. Shimen Bao checked and found that there were no major problems. However, Xiaochen's earlier attack had blocked the qi and blood in his knees. When he landed in a hurry, he lost his balance and naturally fell over. Just as Shimen Bao was about to get angry, Bai Wuxia stopped him. Bai Wuxia stepped forward. His handsome face appeared calm and at ease. He smiled and said, "Brother Xiao, after not seeing you for 2 years, you are still as elegant as before. Would you be willing to give me some pointers again?" Bai Wuxia's eyes filled with boundless confidence as he looked at Xiaochen, quietly waiting for Xiaochen's answer. After the battle at the starry heaven Silver Lake, Bai Wuxia's strength was no longer the same as before. Furthermore, Xiaochen was now only an inferior grade martial sage. He could definitely suppress Xiaochen. Bai Wuxia still remembered the grievance from back then. If he did not take revenge now, when would he? Stop. A great enemy is before us. And you are still fighting among yourselves. What a scandal. If you want to fight for superiority, go and fight for military merits if you are capable. What is the point of being arrogant here? Huang Pufeng said furiously as he led a group of strong martial sages out of the palace in a grandiose manner. Huang Pufeng was only a superior grade martial sage. However, he held a high position in the Bushan Palace, conferred the title of Marquis. His status was even higher than theirs. Bai Wuxia was not willing to offend Huang Pufeng. He snorted coldly and turned around. Xiaochen was happy and relaxed, ignoring Bai Wuxia. 2 years ago, he had already treated Bai Wuxia like air. Now why would he care about him? It was like an ant teasing an elephant. The ant was very pleased with himself, not knowing what he was doing. This was extremely laughable. Chapter 874. Huang Pufeng's expression turned grave as he called out names, splitting the reinforcements into 3 groups. Xiaochen and Feng Xingxing were in one group, Bai Wuxia and Shimen Bao were in another, and Hua Dao's and Niu Deng were in another. After that, Huang Pufeng handed out a military merit medallion to everyone. As long as they killed a corpse race cultivator, be it a demonic corpse or a corpse race cultivator, they would have their aura imprinted on the military merit medallion. When they returned, they would hand the medallions to someone to verify. That way, it would be easy to calculate everyone's military merits. Seeing the reinforcements holding the military merit medallions, Huang Pufeng said coldly, "I advise you not to let your guard down. The leaders of the corpse race are the underworld fire sovereign and the white bone sovereign's descendants, Wei Hua and Long Fei. Earlier, the 2 resource stars fell at the hands of these 2 people. Several superior grade martial sages died at their hands. Right now, this dragonwood star is left with only the final line of defense. If we lose it, the other party will be able to approach our island. At that time, the entire dragonwood star will change hands." When everyone heard Wei Hua's and Long Fei's names, they could not help but be stunned. Clearly, they had not expected their opponents to be these 2. Aside from the Corpse God Palace's palace master, there were 4 sovereign martial emperors. The descendants of the 4 sovereign martial emperors had made quite a name for themselves in this chaos. They were all peak geniuses second only to Di Wuk, extremely strong. Everyone had expressions of disbelief as they asked, "What's going on? Why are these 2 not going to the starry heaven Silver Lake, but here?" This was especially so for the smug Bai Wuxia. He was immediately defeated. Originally, he thought that after he left the starry heaven Silver Lake, he would stand out from the crowd unrivaled. Unexpectedly, he still ran into 2 troublesome people. However, after thinking about it, these 2 people did not even dare to go to the starry heaven Silver Lake. Perhaps they did not live up to their reputation. If I can defeat them, I will definitely be conferred a king with military merits. I will be able to obtain countless benefits from the Bushan Palace. Huang Pufeng did not care what these people thought. He continued, "The 6 of you quickly go to the island of the 3rd line of defense. The other party's morale is high. They might charge over in one go." Just as everyone was about to leave, Bai Wuxia called out to Xiao Chun and said, "Do you dare to make a bet with me? Lord Huangpu's words do make some sense. This time, I will bet with you again. Let's see who can obtain more military merits." Xiao Chun had long since disdained to play this kind of rooster crowing game, but since the other party had spoken, Xiao Chun did not want to have stage fright. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chun had an idea. He smiled and said, "If you want to compete, that's fine. However, you have to add some stakes. I'm very interested in the inherited martial technique you obtained from the Snow Clan. If you lose, you have to hand it over. How about that?" "Very well. If you lose, you will willingly let me step on your face. From today onwards, wherever I, Bai Wuxia, am around, you will disappear." Bai Wuxia was very confident of his victory. He was no longer the Bai Wuxia of 2 years ago. He needed to vent the frustration that he had been suppressing in his heart. No matter how Xiao Chun trampled on him, he had to ruthlessly trample on him. Otherwise, he would never be able to vent this frustration. Feng Xingxing and the others were somewhat startled. Bai Wuxia's bet was too big. If Xiao Chun lost and got trampled on, he would not be able to continue living in the future. "It's a deal. I hope that you will keep your promise when the time comes." Xiao Chun did not show any fear. He waved his hand and led the Haotian sect disciples away. "Senior brother Xiao Chun, how did you do it? You casually raised your hand and made Shimen Bao fall from a distance." That's right. That's right. How did you do it? Didn't you clearly let go already?" Senior brother Xiao Chun. Senior brother Xiao Chun. On the way to the 3rd line of defense, the Haotian sect's group of people walked on the surface of the sea, fighting to be the first to ask Xiao Chun questions. That move just now had shocked these juniors. They had clearly placed their hands on each other's shoulders at the same time. He had clearly put his hand on Shimen Bao's shoulder at the same time. However, the famous outstanding young talent of the Tianwu domain, Shimen Bao, had knelt down on one knee. After that, he had clearly let go, but he fell again. This made them laugh miserably. If Xiao Chun could learn this move, he would definitely be very cool. In the future, he would definitely be in the limelight. Among them, Jin Lin was the most active. After losing to Xiao Chun, especially that incredulous look at the end. Jinlin was shocked and no longer underestimated Xiao Chen. Compared to those juniors who had not personally experienced Xiao Chen's strength, Jinlin idolized Xiao Chen even more. In the past few days, Jinlin would occasionally ask Xiao Chen for advice on his saber techniques. He gained a lot and firmed up his opinion of Xiao Chen. Now when Jinlin saw Xiao Chen reduce Shimen Bao, who had been preparing to embarrass him, into a sorry state, he urgently wanted to learn this move. Xiao Chen smiled somewhat helplessly. This was just a side skill, a skill not worth mentioning at all. Yet, this group of juniors was terrifyingly enthusiastic. "Oh right. Senior brother Xiao Chen, that by Wuxia has been very different in the past 2 years. He has been undergoing experiential training in the starry heaven Silver Lake, and has improved rapidly. He must be confident of winning the bet with you." Jinlin could not help but say worriedly when he thought of Bai Wuxia's final bet with Xiao Chen. The starry heaven Silver Lake was a mysterious secret realm in the Kunlun realm. It was a silver lake formed entirely of spiritual energy in the starry heavens. It was very vast, and the lake nurtured all sorts of rare divine materials and plants. It was a natural paradise. As for the details, Xiao Chen did not know much. He only heard that there were many mysterious items there. The Bushin Palace, the Corpse God Palace, the Spirit Palace, the Thousand Deity Church, and the Fiend Domain's royal court all sent their elites there. Some of the geniuses of the ancient races that appeared recently also rushed to the starry heaven Silver Lake. Now that place had already turned into the cruelest battlefield. Famous geniuses fell nearly every day. For Bai Wuxia to last 2 years in the starry heaven Silver Lake, his strength had definitely undergone a metamorphosis. However, Xiao Chen was very confident about the bet. Right now, even he did not know his true combat prowess. How strong was he now? Once he formally comprehended his saber Dao, how strong would he become? Xiao Chen had no way of knowing. Along the way, Xiao Chen could not endure the constant bombardment of the juniors. So he told them how he had convinced Shimen Bao. The tall and burly Jinlin learned the fastest. He practically understood it on the first try. After he tested it on one of his juniors, he was overjoyed. There were 2 other juniors who learned it quickly as well. Xiao Chen kept an eye on them, remembering them in his heart. Although it was an unorthodox Dao, those who could learn it so quickly were definitely talented. When the group was still a long way from the target island, Azure Monarch Island, Xiao Chen suddenly stopped. He looked into the distance and frowned slightly. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was much stronger than the mental energy of the juniors. He could see the situation of the target island in advance. Unexpectedly, Huang Pufeng was right. The 3 islands that formed the third line of defense were indeed under attack. "Senior brother, what's wrong?" Jinlin asked quickly when he saw something wrong with Xiao Chen's expression. Xiao Chen withdrew his spiritual sense and said calmly, "Everyone get ready. The battle is about to begin." The 20 juniors were stunned at first. Then their blood surged. They did not feel nervous at all. In their eyes, this was a good opportunity to gain military merits and make a name for themselves. Xiao Chen shook his head in his heart. However, he did not expose them. He instructed, "Jinlin, Xiao Xian, and Lu Ke, the 3 of you take the lead." These 3 were the juniors that Xiao Chen thought highly of. There were 2 men and 1 woman. Xiao Xian's full name was Huxian. When they heard Xiao Chen's instructions, they excitedly led the group of people into the sky, quickly flying towards Azure Monarch Island. Xiao Chen walked unhurriedly on the water. His steps did not look big. However, when he raised his leg, the water seemed to close up. When Xiao Chen took a step, a long mark appeared on the water behind him, looking like it was carved by a saber. Xiao Chen's speed was no slower than that of the juniors in the sky. He purposely suppressed his speed, keeping himself 5 kilometers behind the juniors, no more and no less. After a while, Azure Monarch Island appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. The sounds of intense fighting came from the front. Waves surged, and battle cries shook the sky. When the cultivators guarding the island saw the 20 inferior-grade martial sages flying over, they all rejoiced. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and remained in the air, not making a move. Instead, he carefully observed the battle below. Demonic corpses refined from astral beasts crawled out of the water and clashed with the human cultivators. The weakest of the human cultivators fighting on the sea was a superior grade martial monarch. In terms of numbers, they far outnumbered the corpse race cultivators. There were no more than 100 true corpse race cultivators. However, the large number of demonic corpses they summoned gave the corpse race a numerical advantage. Xiaochen stared at a corpse race old man wearing black robes inlaid with gold. This old man was short and skinny, and his beady eyes radiated a sinister energy. This old man controlled 3 underworld fire demonic corpses to hold back a superior grade martial sage of the human cultivators. Furthermore, this old man could find the time to kill human cultivators. When he attacked, death chi spread throughout his entire body. No one could last a single exchange with him. Unexpectedly, this old man was a superior grade martial sage of the corpse race. Furthermore, his cultivation was very high. Xiaochen looked at the buildings on the island. Using his spiritual sense, he felt that there should be a strong force on the island that had not been used yet. Among them were the auras of 2 superior grade martial sages. Xiaochen looked into the distance and muttered, "Are they guarding against something?" After the 20 inferior grade martial sages of the Haotian sect joined the fray, the morale of the corpse race cultivators immediately soared. This was especially so after Jin Lin, Xiaoxian, and Lu Ku delayed the skinny old man. The situation became even better. Xiaochen could not help but shake his head slightly. He said, "These 3 fellows are too arrogant. Instead of helping that human superior grade martial sage delay the underworld fire demonic corpses, they came here to deal with the other party's leader." A newborn calf does not fear a tiger was a perfect example of such a situation. If one did not suffer, one would not learn to be obedient. Indeed, not long later, Jin Lin, who was eager to gain merits, fell for a brilliant opening that the skinny old man purposely revealed. In a moment of carelessness, Jin Lin suffered a palm strike to his chest. The skinny old man did not have a merciful heart. He immediately vomited a mouthful of black blood and was severely injured, temporarily losing his combat prowess. The 3's combined attacks broke. The other 2 did not last long before they were injured one after another. The skinny old man displayed his rich combat experience. He used the smallest price to defeat these 3 juniors with extraordinary combat prowess. He laughed strangely and was about to kill them when someone suddenly jumped out and blocked him. Chapter 875. It turned out that this person had been distracted. The human superior grade martial sage, who had been delayed by the 3 underworld fire demonic corpses, finally managed to extricate himself. The sword descended from the sky, carrying surging law energy as it chopped down at the old man's head. The skinny old man was startled and quickly retreated. When the sword light landed on the water, it kicked up huge waves. Some of the demonic corpses that were struck by the shock waves immediately shattered. After the sword light landed, the skinny old man looked at the situation of the battlefield. With the sudden addition of that group of juniors, the situation had reversed. The corpse race was now at a disadvantage. Retreat. The skinny old man did not care. He chuckled and waved his hand to recall the remaining corpse race cultivators. The demonic corpses scattered like the receding tide. Soon, the group of corpse race cultivators could no longer be seen. The human superior grade martial sage stopped the people who wanted to give chase. Then he walked over to the weakened Jin Lin and the other 2 and smiled. "You must be the reinforcements of the Supreme Sky Sect. You are really bold." That skinny old man from earlier was a famous expert of the corpse race, the Blackstone Old Revenant. Even us old fellows did not dare to fight him alone. Jin Lin's group of 3 felt somewhat ashamed. They suppressed their injuries and performed cupped fist salutes. "Many thanks, senior, for saving our lives." The sword-wielding old man was rather forthright. He smiled and said, "There is no such thing as saving lives on the battlefield. If not for you, I would not have been able to escape the encirclement of the 3 underworld fire demonic corpses so quickly." "That's right. Why do I not see your leader?" The 3 were stunned and looked around. They could not help but find it strange. He was following us earlier. How come we can't see him now? The old man could not help but frown slightly. He turned around and looked in the direction that the Blackstone Old Revenants group had taken. The Blackstone Old Revenants group retreated. When he saw the new skull on the military merit medallion at his waist, his skinny old face filled with a smile. In this sneak attack, the Blackstone Old Revenant had killed more than 100 human cultivators. All of them were half-sages and above. Among them, there were even 5 inferior-grade martial sages with outstanding military merits. The only unfortunate thing was that the 3 juniors had managed to escape. The morale of the other corpse race cultivators was high as well. Most of the corpse race cultivators who died were demonic corpses. Not many of their own died. It could be said to be a great success. It is really easy to obtain military merits. It is good to follow the descendants of Wei Hua and Long Fei, 2 sovereign martial emperors. It won't be long before this dragonwood star will belong to our corpse race. At that time, there will be a lot of benefits. The group of people was in high spirits. None of them cared about the reinforcements that had just arrived. They chatted idly about what would happen after they conquered Dragonwood Star. Suddenly, the Blackstone Old Revenant stopped. A white figure stood calmly in the sunlight, his hands clasped behind his back. It was unknown how long he had been waiting. The Blackstone Old Revenant said coldly, "Who is it? Are you tired of living? You even dare to block our path? The people who will kill you." The white silhouette flashed, and the sound of a peerless saber being unsheathed rang out on the surface of the sea. Columns of water shot up into the sky, and waves blossomed beautifully. "Kill him." Despite being an inferior-grade martial sage, his tone was frighteningly arrogant. The Blackstone Old Revenant waved his hand. The 3 inferior-grade martial sages of the corpse race leaped out. With a casual wave, a few astral beast demonic corpses leaped out of the water and launched themselves at Xiao Chun. The fish-shaped astral beast had been a rank 1 astral beast when it was alive. After the corpse race transformed it, it was as strong as an ordinary inferior-grade martial sage. The most important thing was that there were many of them. Furthermore, they did not feel pain. Regular cultivators would have trouble encountering them. The 3 inferior-grade martial sages of the corpse race also smiled sinisterly. Normally, they relied on this astral beast demonic corpse. Normally, they relied on these astral beast demonic corpses. On this Dragonwood Star, martial sages of the same cultivation would not be a match for them. The image of Xiao Chun being delayed by these astral beast demonic corpses already appeared in their minds. Then they would drag Xiao Chun to death. If he had a good physique and was refined into a demonic corpse, his strength would improve further. Cassier. Before the Blackstone Old Revenant could feel shocked, they saw Xiao Chun flying over. He was like a saber wind. The normally invincible astral beast demonic corpses did not even last a moment before the saber wind tore them into pieces, completely crippled. Shock appeared in the Blackstone Old Revenant's eyes. He got up and rushed forward. At the same time he shouted, "Retreat! Quickly scatter!" However, there was no chance to leave now. Xiao Chun's figure flickered, and he kicked. A resplendent saber light lit up, and the inferior-grade martial sage on the right was instantly decapitated, dying without a complete corpse. The remaining 2 were given a fright and quickly retreated. However, they saw a white figure pass between the 2 of them. The saber wind behind Xiao Chun split into 2. With a PUCI sound, purple electricity flickered. The saber wind split the 2 corpse race cultivators in half, and blood spurted everywhere. When Xiao Chun looked up, he happened to see the Blackstone Old Revenant rushing over to help. When he saw the shocked expression on the Old Revenant's face, Xiao Chun smiled faintly. He clenched his right fist and punched. Blue Dragon goes to sea. An overwhelming pillar of water soared into the sky. Boundless saber chi flew everywhere as Xiao Chun leaped out of the water. In the eyes of the Blackstone Old Revenant, Xiao Chun was sometimes a dragon, sometimes a saber, and sometimes a delicate white-robed cultivator. Xiao Chun's sharpness changed hundreds of times, unfathomable. However, it remained the same, sharp, unblockable, pressing forward with an indomitable will. Death chi accumulated in the Blackstone Old Revenant's body. He moved his 10 fingers and threw 2 palms at Xiao Chun's somewhat strange fist light. Ancient underworld river wave palm. In that instant, the winds and clouds changed. A huge spinning black ball appeared and turned into a flowing underworld river. Waves surged, forming thousands of layers as they surged towards Xiaochen. The ghost race and corpse race both cultivated the death Dao. Many of their cultivation techniques and martial techniques were comprehended by their seniors while they observed the underworld river. Clearly, this ancient underworld river wave palm was a superior palm technique. When Xiaochen sent out 2 palms, the underworld river surging towards Xiaochen carried surging death qi. Illusions that could not be dispelled surrounded Xiaochen in all directions. Vengeful spirits, white bones, graves, and malicious spirits formed a scene of purgatory, disrupting one's mind. Xiaochen's heart was like a boulder. The various illusions did not shake his mental state at all. His fist light was unparalleled. Flickering electricity, an indistinct blue dragon, the 40% comprehended will of thunder, and the vague form of his saber soul quickly changed. I walk an unconventional path, blazing a new path of my own, unprecedented in the past and unmatched in the future. I merge the strengths of many schools of thought and create my own saber Dao. Even if the true underworld river descends, it will pierce through you, not allowing any water to enter. Furthermore, you are just a materialized underworld river. Its sharpness is ever-changing, no one can block it. Break for me. Boom. The surrounding illusions suddenly vanished. This punch knocked the surging underworld river into the air and into the clouds. The black stone old revenant was greatly startled. He formed hand seals and tossed out 3 underworld fire demonic corpses. Then he retreated quickly. As he did so, he shouted, "Attack together! Use demonic corpses to surround him. I want to refine him into a demonic corpse. Then he will be as strong as a grandmaster-level martial sage." The close to 100 corpse race cultivators behind quickly formed hand seals. Light flickered on the surface of the sea, and various demonic corpses leaped out. Their auras were horrifying as they launched themselves at Xiaochen. The death qi on Xiaochen's body merged into one. The seawater under his feet turned pitch black like ink. The white clouds in the sky slowly faded away, encased by black clouds. This showed how horrifying this aura was. Good timing. Xiaochen smiled gently and tapped his forehead with 2 fingers. Immediately, 4 spots of golden light surged out. The 40% comprehended will of thunder turned into 4 small golden sabers. The vague form of his saber soul contained a boundless and unparalleled saber intent. Whistling sounds rang out, and the 4 small golden sabers danced around Xiaochen, forming a screen of lightning made of countless saber qi. Carrying this screen of lightning, Xiaochen charged over. The demonic corpses in front of him gently touched them and tore them into pieces. Then the electric light exploded and turned them into powder. The higher-ranked demonic corpses only lasted 1 more second. The screen of lightning immediately knocked back the 3 underworld fire demonic corpses, preventing them from interfering with Xiaochen. Like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, the group of demonic corpses on the surface of the sea was completely torn to shreds. The sky turned blue, and the seawater turned clear. The 100 corpse race cultivators had stunned expressions. They had never seen anyone sweep away their demonic corpses like they were trash before. The black stone old revenant rolled his eyes and shouted, "What are you staring blankly for? Just refine more demonic corpses after you run out. If we refine this brat, he will be equal to 1,000 monarch-grade demonic corpses." The group of corpse race cultivators hesitated. However, due to the black stone old revenant's orders and the fact that Xiaochen was alone, they steeled themselves and charged over. Seeing this scene, the black stone old revenant quietly put away the 3 severely injured underworld fire demonic corpses. Then he turned around and fled. Xiaochen smiled coldly to himself. How could he allow the black stone old revenant to flee? How could he care about these 100 corpse race cultivators, whose strongest cultivation was only inferior grade martial sage? Military merits came from killing major characters. No matter how many the small shrimp you killed, it would be pointless. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. Change. Change. Xiaochen's figure split into 9. He turned into 9 strands of saber wind, disappearing in a flash. Everywhere he passed, The unlucky corpse race cultivators turned into clumps of scarlet light, and turned into skulls that appeared on his military merit medallion. The 9 figures merged back together, and they pushed off the air. Electric light burst out as they caught up to the fleeing black stone old revenant. "Stay here." Xiaochen spread his fingers and grabbed at the black stone old revenant's head. Countless flickering electricity gathered in his palm. Every finger was as hard as a saber, flickering with a sharp edge. Like a meteor chasing the moon, Xiaochen used his strong physical body's strength to tear off one of the black stone old revenant's arms. The electric light surging in his palm blasted the black stone old revenant's arm into the air. Xiaochen turned around slightly, using his body as a saber and his shoulder as the tip. Then he crashed into the black stone old revenant. The barrier that the black stone old revenant formed with death chi in a fluster shattered with a kase sound. This move was extremely tyrannical. It contained 1,500 tons of force, 90% comprehended saber intent, and the immortal will of thunder. It was a treasure saber forged with one's body as the blade. A cold light flashed, and its might was unparalleled. The black stone old revenant crashed into the military merit medallion. Secret treasures, cultivation techniques, and defensive martial techniques were all useless. The black stone old revenant was badly mangled, no longer recognizable. In that instant, his aura vanished and he died. A bright purple skull immediately appeared on Xiaochen's military merit medallion, and he easily collected the 10,000 military merits. Xiaochen glanced at the black stone old revenant's military merit medallion and saw rows and rows of skulls. He wondered how many human cultivators had died at the hands of this crafty old revenant. Chapter 876. When the corpse race cultivators below saw the deformed black stone old revenant, they lost all will to fight and fled. This originally successful sneak attack was a complete failure. The destruction of the demonic corpses was a small matter. However, the death of a superior grade martial sage would enrage the 2 young masters. Xiaochen ignored these small fries and took out the ancient underworld river wave palm from the black stone old revenant's spatial ring. Then he carefully studied it. Xiaochen wanted to walk an unprecedented path. He wanted to use his body as a saber, infusing all the techniques of the 100 schools of thought into his body, using them as divine materials to refine this powerful treasure saber. Regardless of whether it was because of the will of cycles or his own great Tao, he had to research the death Tao sooner or later. After a while, Xiaochen put away the ancient underworld river wave palm and closed his eyes to comprehend it. In the heavenly dew divine spring, everyone else had absorbed more essence than Xiaochen had. His comprehension ability had already reached a horrifying level. With just one look, he roughly understood the principles of the ancient underworld river wave palm. When Xiaochen opened his eyes again, he had already gained a lot. He muttered, "Not bad, the ancient underworld river wave palm is passable. When I subdue the death throne and obtain death chi, I will be able to execute this corpse race heaven-ranked martial technique." How preposterous! Who does he think he is? At such a crucial moment, he did not even show himself. What is this Xiaochen trying to do? The Azure Monarch Island's island master, Xiaofeng, appeared very angry, throwing a tantrum in the great hall. The 2 superior grade martial sages beside him also had unsightly expressions. Feng Xingxing, who was at the side, led the older generation martial sages of the Full Moon Pavilion in silence. They could not understand what Xiaochen was trying to do. The Azure Monarch Island was attacked, yet Xiaochen did not come to report after the matter was over. He was simply looking down on the island master here. When the Haotian sect disciples heard that Xiaochen was being lectured, they felt extremely uncomfortable in their hearts. The tall and burly Jinlin stepped forward and said, "Senior Xia, there's no need to be so angry. Senior brother Xiaochen definitely did not disrespect the 3 of you on purpose." When Xiaoxian heard this, she couldn't help but smile bitterly. This senior brother Jinlin really didn't know how to speak. On the surface he was comforting her, but he shouldn't have been so direct. Xiaofeng and the other 2 older generation martial sages were clearly respected existences who cared a lot about their reputation. When they heard Jinlin's words, it was like adding fuel to the fire. Lu Wu snorted coldly and said with a displeased expression, Who do you think I am? This old man has accumulated 100,000 battle merits, and the Palace Lord of Bushin Palace personally conferred me the title of Green Emperor Marquis, the Island Lord of Green Emperor Island, and the person in charge of the 3 defense lines of Dragonwood Planet. Do you think that a mere disciple of the Haotian sect would respect me? In times of chaos, it is like enlisting in the army to fight a war. Since he came with reinforcements, he has to abide by the rules of Bushin Palace. He has to lead his troops to report. Even now, he has not even seen his shadow. What a scandal! The yellow-robed old man on the right also said, "We need an explanation for today's matter. Otherwise, when the main force of the corpse race attacks in the future, if he does not listen to commands and disrupts the army's morale, there will be big trouble." When the blue-robed old man Qin Wu, who once saved Jin Lin and the other 2, heard that the 2 wanted to take this matter to the extreme, he quickly said, "Brother Liu, there's no need to be too angry. As for the details, we still have to wait for Xiao Chen to return first. There must be a reason for this." The yellow-robed old man immediately interrupted him rudely. What reason could there be? In my opinion, he clearly saw that there was nothing going on, so he went out to search for treasures. He did not care about the reinforcements from Bushin Palace at all. There are many treasures in this resource pool. When the hot-tempered Jin Lin saw these 2 old fellows being unreasonable and taking advantage of the situation to make things difficult for Xiao Chen, how could he endure it? He immediately flared up, and a ruthless aura filled his burly body. Xiao Xian quickly stepped forward and said, "Seniors, our senior brother Xiao Chen would definitely not do such a preposterous thing. If I am not wrong, senior brother Xiao Chen should be chasing after the Black Stone Old Revenants group." When Xiaofeng heard this, he could not help but smile coldly. "Little girl, you really do not know the immensity of the heavens and the earth. Who is the Black Stone Old Revenant? Even we do not dare to say that we can defeat him, yet he, a junior, dares to chase after them? Furthermore, there were more than 100 people who left with him. You are overestimating this brat." The moment Xiaofeng said this, he could no longer endure it. He shouted angrily, "You 2 old fellows, don't rely on your status to look down on others. Our senior brother Xiao Chen is not as unbearable as you make him out to be." Although senior brother Xiao Chen is young, now that the great chaos has started, age is no longer the norm. Just because you can't defeat an opponent does not mean that senior brother Xiao Chen cannot do it. That's right. No matter what, our senior brother Xiao Chen is an upright person. He would not run off to search for treasures at this time. You 2 old fellows, the moment you open your mouths, all you have to do is bully others. What is there to be proud of? The group of junior generation disciples of the Haotian sect had long been dissatisfied with these 2 old fellows. The moment the battle ended, they did not even let them rest properly. Instead, they pulled them over and reprimanded them. With Jin Lin taking the lead, they all spoke up, directly opposing the 2 old fellows. Good. A group of juniors came under orders to reinforce the army. Yet you dare to disobey and speak rudely. As the Azure Monarch Marquis, I will detain you now and let you calm down. Xiaofeng revealed a sinister smile on his face. His expression was indistinguishable. Unexpectedly, he wanted to detain this group of juniors. Heavy footsteps resounded. Xiaofeng's direct descendants gathered in the Great Hall. A large group of elite martial sages drew their weapons and surrounded the group. The matter suddenly blew up. Feng Xingxing felt that something was wrong. However, he was cautious and did not show it on his face, not saying a word. Clearly, the blue-robed old man had not expected the matter to escalate to this point. He quickly said, "Island Lord Xia, the corpse race army is approaching. Dragonwood Star is in danger. This is a time when we need manpower. It is best to reduce the problem to a small one." However, the yellow-robed old man retorted, "Brother Qin, your words are wrong. With a great enemy before us, these people will naturally be a great help if we use them well. However, look at them. All of them are unruly. Just a few words and they are already like this. If a great battle really comes, not only will they not be of any help, but they will even cause chaos and affect the morale of the army. If you want to deal with them, do it quickly. Just deduct 5,000 military merits and send them back." However, Xiaofeng did not say anything more. He said coldly, "Capture them all. Do you really think that Bushan Palace is a place for you little fellows to fool around in?" Xiao Xian's expression changed. Even with her extraordinary intelligence, she did not know what to do. She had not expected the situation to develop like this. The Azure Monarch Island martial sages in the Great Hall were clearly the elites of the island. Furthermore, there were many of them. If they fought, the juniors of the Haotian sect would definitely be at a disadvantage. However, given the personalities of Jinlin and the others, they were not people who would give in easily. What should I do? What should I do? In an instant, thousands of thoughts flashed through Xiao Xian's mind. No matter how hard she tried, she could not think of a countermeasure. Stop! Who dares to touch the people of my Haotian sect? Just as Jinlin and the others were about to make a move against the elite martial sages of the Azure Monarch Island, a cold shout came from outside the Great Hall. The voice was not loud, but it was very intimidating, like a knife stabbing into the sea of consciousness. Everyone could not help but stop what they were doing and look towards the entrance of the Great Hall. Senior brother Xiaochun. The juniors of the Haotian sect all showed joy on their faces as they all called out in unison. Xiaochun stood outside the door and looked at Xiaofeng. He said in a cold voice, "How awe-inspiring! You even dare to casually detain the true inheritors of my Haotian sect." When Xiaochun approached the Azure Monarch Island, he had already clearly seen the situation in the Great Hall with his spiritual sense. At that time, Xiaochun felt that something was wrong. He wanted to see what this Xiaofeng was up to, so he was not in a rush to enter. Who knew? These two people became more and more overbearing. When Xiaochun arrived outside the Great Hall, the guard stopped him from entering. When he forced his way in, he saw the scene before him. When Xiaofeng saw Xiaochun arrive, he did not panic. He smiled coldly and said, "Xiaochun, you came at a good time. You came with the order to reinforce the army. Why did you not report with the disciples of your sect? Are you looking down on the Bushan Palace?" Xiaochun's thoughts were as meticulous as a web. After many speculations, he already had a rough idea of what was going on. He retorted coldly, "Don't accuse me of anything. It is not that I am looking down on the Bushan Palace. It is just that I am looking down on you." Facing Xiaochun's rudeness, not giving him any face, Xiaofeng could not help feeling stifled. He retorted angrily, "How bold!" This old man accumulated 100,000 military merits, and was conferred the title of Azure Monarch Marquis by the Bushan Palace's palace master, commanding the 3 lines of defense of Dragonwood Star. You came with the order to reinforce the army, yet you dare to disobey it? The order to reinforce the army? Xiaochun smiled coldly and said, "The order to reinforce the army is to reinforce the army of the Bushan Palace. However, it is an order from my Haotian sect's first elder, Han Qinghe. It is also to protect the people of my Haotian sect. You are just an insignificant island master. Who do you think you are to order me around?" The yellow-robed old man at the side leaped up and shouted, "What a sharp-tongued, arrogant brat. Island master, I'll go and capture this brat and teach him a lesson on behalf of his sect master." The yellow-robed old man soared into the air and clenched his fist. Then the law energy in his body surged. As the yellow-robed old man's deep cultivation flickered, an intense wind blew. Several inferior-grade martial sages with unstable foundations were blown over by this wind. "You are seeking death." When Xiaochun saw that this person really dared to make a move, his expression turned cold, and his figure flashed. The sound of a treasured saber being unsheathed rang out. Xiaochun's black hair fluttered without any wind, and his white robes fluttered. It was like he was the brightest saber in the world. His sharpness changed unparalleled. Bang! The 2 fists clashed, and the yellow-robed old man vomited a mouthful of blood. Then he flew back like a sharp arrow. He felt like a knife was scraping his arm. The pain was unbearable. The yellow-robed old man's sea of consciousness churned endlessly, and his mind buzzed. A strong will intimidated him into temporarily losing his ability to think. By the time the yellow-robed old man recovered his wits, he was already lying on the ground. The clothes on his right arm were tattered and covered in blood. The moment this scene appeared, it shocked everyone present. Xiafeng's heart sank. Although the yellow-robed old man's talent was limited, he was only an early-stage superior-grade martial sage. He had underestimated his opponent, but he was still a superior-grade martial sage. Unexpectedly, he could not even block one move from this brat. This was too frightening. Chapter 877. Whoosh. Just as he was lost in his thoughts, something flew in front of him. He caught it and looked at it. It was Xiao Chen's merit plate. There was a bright purple skull on it, dazzling everyone's eyes. Xiafeng wondered if he was seeing things. You, the Blackstone old ghost, you actually, really killed him. This is impossible. His face was filled with shock as he looked at Xiao Chen in complete disbelief. Xiao Chen enunciated every word as he said in a threatening tone. Bright purple skull, 10,000 military merits. You have to kill a superior-grade martial sage. Bushin Palace personally forged the military merit plate, authentic and genuine. How dare you, a mere island master, not believe it? You even dare to doubt the merit plate forged by Bushin Palace. This is simply disgraceful. Watch me capture you and teach you a lesson on behalf of your master. Xiao Chen took a step forward, wanting to charge at the Azure Monarch Marquis, Xiafeng. Qin Wu, one of the 3 overseers of the island, quickly stopped him and said, Xiao Chen, how about we end this matter here? It was not that you were absent for no reason. Not only did you fail, but you were also rewarded. I apologize to you on behalf of Island Lord Xia. When Xiafeng heard that Xiao Chen didn't even want to let him go, he felt a trace of fear when he saw the other party's sharpness. Then he saw the genuine bright purple skull on the merit plate. He knew that this matter couldn't be resolved peacefully, so he couldn't help but hesitate. Now that he heard Qin Wu say this, he found a way out of this embarrassing situation. He immediately said, This is my fault. I can use my authority as the island lord to give each of your Haotian sect disciples 500 battle merits. With a wave of his hand, Xiao Chen pulled his merit medallion over and said coldly, The disciples of the Haotian sect are all elites. They don't need you to give them their merit medallions. They will come out on their own. Since you've admitted your mistake, I won't pursue today's matter any further. Take care of yourself. Xiao Chen did not intend to continue to be unreasonable with the other party's humble attitude. Moreover, there was something fishy about this matter, and he needed to take his time to figure it out. That's right, we don't need a small island lord like you to give us military merits. He's just a small island lord, yet he thinks he's someone important. Does he think we're beggars with just 500 battle merits? The group of Haotian sect disciples did not care about Xiafeng at all. With Xiao Chen here, they straightened their backs and spoke with confidence. The little island lord called out Little Island Lord, causing the Azure Monarch Marquis, Xiafeng, to feel extremely embarrassed. However, he did not dare to flare up. His appearance was extremely funny. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and waited for this group of juniors to have enough fun before leading them out of the lobby. Seeing this group of people swaggering around, the Full Moon Pavilion's martial sages, who were watching them make a fool of themselves earlier, revealed envious expressions. Feng Xingxing sighed. After not seeing Xiao Chen for 2 years, Xiao Chen's strength had not regressed at all. Instead, his growth was startling. He could rival the peak outstanding talents of the starry heaven Silver Lake. When he attacked, he had a different kind of demeanor, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. However, Feng Xingxing could feel that demeanor. Not only did Xiao Chen have the bearing of an elder, but he also had the confidence of a powerful expert. Furthermore, they had the confidence of a powerful expert, which boosted the morale of these Supreme Sky Sect juniors, making them hot-blooded. When Feng Xingxing saw the experienced elders behind him, he could not help smiling bitterly. The overall strength of his group should be about the same as that of the Haotian sect. However, if they wanted to compete for battle merits, they could not compare to Xiao Chen's group. The reason was Feng Xingxing. Feng Xingxing did not have the demeanor that Xiao Chen had. He did not have the unrivaled confidence that gave the people of the sect. Island Lord Xia, if there is nothing else, I will take my leave as well. Feng Xingxing performed a cupped fist salute to Xiafeng and took his leave. Then he led the Full Moon Pavilion's martial sages out of the lobby. After everyone left, Only Xiaofeng and the yellow-robed old man remained in the lobby. When Xiaofeng saw the yellow-robed old man's bloody arm, which had yet to recover, he sighed. It looks like there is really a problem this time. Brother Xia, what are you afraid of? I sent you a voice projection earlier to take down this brat in one go. Why did you not listen to me and let him go for nothing? The yellow-robed old man demanded, feeling aggrieved. Xiaofeng revealed a contemplative expression. He said, You are thinking too simply. This brat defeated you with one punch. It was not just because you underestimated him. What should we do? You might be able to swallow this, but I cannot. When Xiaofeng heard this, his face sank. He smiled coldly and said, I do not intend to let him off so easily. Now, it is already very difficult to find any evidence to use against him. However, I have my own ways to deal with him. At that time, I will make him beg for mercy before me like a dog. The yellow-robed old man looked around and asked, Brother Xia, what do you mean? Silence. Xiaofeng said cautiously. Then with a sinister gaze he said, Just wait. Let him jump around for a few days first. This old man will ruthlessly slap him to death. At the camp of the Haotian sect on Azure Monarch Island, Xiaochen stretched out his hand and placed it on the foreheads of Jin Lin, Xian Er, and Lu Ke. Then he used the lightning-attributed energy to refine the death qi in their bodies. This old fellow is really ruthless. If I delay the death qi in your bodies any longer, there will be trouble. Xiaochen withdrew his hand and scattered his energy. Then he spoke to the three, whose complexions looked much better. However, Jin Lin laughed loudly and asked in a hurry, Senior brother Xiaochen, did you really kill that black stone old revenant? Lu Ke and Sienna hurriedly asked. The three of them were no match for the black stone old ghost even after joining hands. They had personally experienced how powerful the other party was. Xiaochen stood up and said, The black stone old revenant is not considered a very powerful superior grade martial sage. What is difficult to deal with are the three specially refined underworld fire demonic corpses in his hands. Otherwise, he would not be considered much among cultivators of the same rank. My physical body has already reached the peak of rank 3 sage body. Coupled with the saber Dao that I cultivate, I do not fear his underworld fire demonic corpse. That's why it was easy to kill him. When the three of them heard Xiaochen say it casually, but they did not believe him, they secretly admired him. The scene of his fluttering long hair and fluttering white robes in the great hall had left a deep impression on the three of them. The instant Xiaochen took a step forward, a boundless light seemed to shine from his body, like the brightest treasured saber in the world. The three of you don't need to belittle yourselves so much. If you cooperate well and don't be greedy, you'll definitely be able to win. With just the three of you, you can fight to a draw with the black stone old revenant without his demonic corpses. This time, I purposely did not make a move to teach you a lesson. Xiaochen could tell that the three of them were somewhat anxious. If he did not teach them a lesson, it would be pointless. If he said it again, it would be more convincing. The three of them lowered their heads awkwardly. After Xiaochen said this, they could not find any words to retort. Xiaochen took out a sea map and gathered the three of them together. Then he pointed to several sea maps occupied by the corpse race and said, After this round of harassment by the corpse race, there will probably be peace for a while. You can use this time to obtain military merits. After boasting in front of Xiaofeng, it would be laughable if I couldn't get any military merits. This great chaos isn't just a fortuitous encounter for geniuses. Although our names aren't well known for now, there's no guarantee that we won't be famous one day. When the three heard Xiaochen talk about proper matters, their expressions turned serious. Jin Lin felt his blood boil. He said, That Xiaofeng keeps calling himself the Azure Monarch Marquis. 100,000 military merits. This time, I have to obtain 100,000 marquis as well. However, Lu Ke and Xian Er laughed softly. What a braggart! Xiaochen smiled as well. Of the three, the one he thought the most highly of was Jin Lin. Jin Lin's talent and sharpness were excellent. However, he was not mature enough. With some polishing, he would definitely have some accomplishments. The three of you will lead the team. Every afternoon, when the death qi is at its weakest, you can go to these islands to harass them. However, remember to stop when you're ahead. When I returned, I checked out the situation of the surrounding sea region. As long as you do as I say, there should not be any problems. After saying that, Xiaochen pointed to the other islands and said, "Don't go to these islands. They have superior grade martial sages guarding them. I'll let you know when you can go." After that, Xiaochen gave pointers based on the three's earlier battles, pointing out their shortcomings. After a long time, the three left happily. Only Xiaochen remained in the room. He opened his hand, and a cauldron appeared in his universe ring. Dragons and phoenixes were carved on the cauldron, looking very lifelike. A fierce purple flame burned in the cauldron, and there was a jade-white egg in the middle of the flame. The cauldron was the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. The flame was the much stronger purple thunder true fire. Naturally, the egg was the golden crow egg. Xiaochen needed to extract a trace of the solar true fire's origin flame to hatch this golden crow egg. As of now, Xiaochen did not have the ability to do so. However, the purple thunder true fire was also an extreme young flame. If he used its origin flame to hatch the egg, there should be some effect. Xiaochen looked carefully. After 1.5 years of nourishment by the purple thunder true fire, there were indeed some cracks in the jade-white egg shell. However, they were as thin as hair and were barely noticeable. Xiaochen did not know how long it would take before he could truly hatch this golden crow egg. However, there was at least some hope, giving him some hope. After putting away the Dragon Phoenix cauldron, Xiaochen paced around the room. Then he thought about the conflict between him and Xiaofeng in the Great Hall that day. After he was done, he was even more certain of his guess. Everything in the world revolved around the word benefit. It was either benefit oneself or benefit others. How could there be hatred for no reason? The third line of defense of Bushin Palace on Dragonwood Star was mainly made up of 3 islands: Azure Monarch Island, White Monarch Island, and Black Monarch Island. At this moment, Bai Wuxia and Shimenbao were drinking wine and chatting on Black Monarch Island. Shimenbao took a sip of wine and smiled. "Brother Bai, you really showed off your might this time." Snow covering the mountains and rivers. Those corpse-race demonic corpses were all frozen into ice. The people on the island were all stunned. Bai Wuxia felt very cocky in his heart. However, he smiled modestly and said, "They are just monarch-grade demonic corpses. They are nothing before true experts. Since the descendants of the White-Bone Sovereign and the Underworld Fire Sovereign are here, they must have brought sage-grade demonic corpses as well." Shimenbao knew what to say at this moment. He offered a toast and said, "Hee, Brother Bai is too humble. I killed 10-odd medial-grade martial sages and gained 3,000 military merits in one go. Who can compare to me? I will definitely be conferred king this time." Black Monarch Island was the same as Azure Monarch Island. They were attacked as well. Bai Wuxia was indeed terrifyingly strong. After obtaining the Snow Race's inheritance and comprehending it thoroughly, he managed to kill several demonic corpses and superior-grade martial sages. Bai Wuxia took a sip of wine and did not reply. 100,000 marquises, 1,000,000 kings. The sons of the 3 holy masters had not been conferred king in Bushin Palace yet. Bai Wuxia was still somewhat self-aware. However, he was still confident of suppressing the crowd and obtaining 100,000 military merits. Chapter 878. As the two chatted, a spirit bird flew in. Shimenbao asked out of curiosity, "Who sent the letter?" Bai Wuxia took out a piece of paper from the bird's leg and said, "I asked an elder of the Full Moon Pavilion to keep an eye on Xiaochen and see how many military merits he has." Shimenbao was unhappy with Xiaochen. He laughed loudly and said, "There's no need to look. That brat cannot compare to Brother Bai. No matter how powerful an inferior grade martial sage is, he is only SOSO. This time, Brother Bai will definitely trample on him." Bai Wuxia, who opened the piece of paper, was stunned, somewhat in disbelief. He read it a few times before confirming that he had not seen wrong. Bright purple skull. Killed the Black Stone Old Revenant. Obtained 10,000 military merits. Killed too many demonic corpses. Too many to count. When Shimenbao heard Bai Wuxia read out the contents of the piece of paper, the wine cup he was holding to his lips fell to the ground and shattered. Shiman Bao could not close his mouth for a long time. The army of the corpse race had already occupied the second line of defense. One of the islands produced black pattern stones, which could be used to refine the rare black pattern gold. The corpse race army did not refine much each time. However, after 8 to 10 years, the quantity would be considerable. It would be more than enough to refine a subdivine weapon. This island was called Black Patterned Island. It was also the main island of the second line of defense. The Whitebone Sovereign's descendant, Long Fei, and the Underworld Fire Sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua, were currently discussing matters in a great hall on the island. Their expressions were extremely relaxed. There were two other people beside the two. One of them was Wang Can. Although his great-grandfather was a corpse race martial emperor, he was not a sovereign martial emperor. His status in the corpse race was far below that of Long Fei and Wei Hua. The other person's identity was very interesting. It was hard to imagine that he would appear together with Wei Hua again. This person was the Iron Hand Sovereign's descendant, Kuei Do. The grudge between the Iron Hand Sovereign and the Underworld Fire Sovereign had caused a huge commotion back then. Even the descendants of the younger generation had many different versions of the story. The Whitebone Sovereign's descendant, Long Fei, was very fair and clean. He dressed like a scholarly young master and held a folding fan in his hand. This was a great contrast to the corpse race people. Because of their special physical body cultivation methods, most of the corpse race's members had dark skin. Coupled with the fact that they cultivated the Tao of Death, they appeared even gloomier. Very few of them had the appearance of a pale scholar like Long Fei. Long Fei looked at the silent Kuei Do. Then he fanned himself and smiled gently. Brother Kuei Do, you should not regret not continuing to the Starry Heaven Silver Lake, right? Kuei Do was a good friend of Long Fei. The two of them could be said to be bosom buddies. Half a month ago, Kuei Do had temporarily left the Starry Sky Silver Lake due to his injuries. When he heard that a storm was about to descend upon the Starry Sky Silver Lake, he had coincidentally received Long Fei's invitation. Thus, he had come to Dragonwood Star dubiously. In the letter, the other party had written a lot about the benefits of occupying a resource star. The benefits were much better than the benefits obtained in the Starry Sky Silver Lake. At first, he did not believe it. Resource stars were rare, and every race would send a large number of troops to guard them. How could 2 resource stars be taken down so easily? When Xiaochen arrived at Dragonwood Star and saw Long Fei and Wei Hua easily occupy most of the sea region, he completely believed Xiaochen. In the past 2 years, Kuei Do's physical body had become even more powerful. He even showed signs of breaking through to rank 4 Sage body. A casual strike of Kuei Do's could reach 1,500 tons of force. When he used his physical body martial techniques, he could achieve 2,500 tons of force. According to legend, the heaven dragon that existed during the immortal epoch could achieve 5,000 tons of force in one strike. That was one dragon force. 2,500 tons of force was half a dragon force. By relying on his strong physical body and half a dragon force, although Kuei Do was not as glorious as people like Di Wuk in the Starry Heaven Silver Lake, he still flourished. If he hadn't been injured by a genius of the Azura race who had just appeared, he wouldn't have had to temporarily retreat. When Kuei Do heard Long Fei's question, he smiled gently and replied, "There are all sorts of benefits in the Starry Heaven Silver Lake. There are 10,000-year-old spirit herbs, spirit beasts with the bloodlines of living creatures, and all sorts of precious divine materials. However, most of them were obtained by Di Wuk's group. The main thing in the Starry Heaven Silver Lake is combat comprehension. If it were just me, the benefits I obtained in this Dragonwood Star are far greater than in the Starry Heaven Silver Lake. The only thing I lack is demonic geniuses. Fighting with me is somewhat boring." Wang Can walked over and said, "Brother Kuei Do, there is no need to worry too much. This time, the Bushan Palace has already sent strong reinforcements. I heard that the descendant of the Qing Emperor, Xiaochen, who disappeared for 2 years, is among them." Bai Wuxia and the others had not known that the Haotian sect would send Xiaochen to lead the team. Unexpectedly, Wang Qin knew. This was very strange. Kuei Do felt that there was a reason for this. However, this was to be expected. If there was no special reason, How could Long Fei and Wei Hua let the prepared dragonwood star suffer a crushing defeat after taking down 2 resource stars? Kuei-do did not care about this. What he cared about was Xiao Chun. He came at the right time. After not seeing him for 2 years, I hope he will not disappoint me, Kuei-do said with a sullen expression. 2 years ago, Xiao Chun's punch in the Sage Mark Monument had beaten him up like a dog. Kuei-do would never forget that. Wei Hua walked over with a cold expression and said, "Don't worry. It would have been fine if he had hidden forever. Now that he has shown himself again, I will let him know that there are some people that he cannot cheat." Although Kuei-do did not fight with Xiao Chun 2 years ago, he had cheated him miserably. Although he did not lose much, the news spread everywhere. He had completely lost face. Kuei-do was the descendant of a bona fide sovereign martial emperor. In this age of geniuses, he would definitely rise up. How could he leave such a stain on his reputation? The white-faced Long Fei fanned himself with a folding fan. Curiosity stirred in his heart. He said, "You are all outstanding talents, heroes among people. To think that you all fell at this brat's hands. I really want to see how incredible this person is." Young masters, the teams that went to scout have all retreated. The detailed battle reports have already been prepared. A corpse race cultivator outside the hall quickly walked in and handed over a stack of battle reports before kneeling on the ground. Wei Hua's face lit up in joy. His figure flashed as he stepped forward and picked up the battle reports. He smiled and said, "Good. Let me see how strong the reinforcements are." Wei Hua took out the first battle report and revealed a disdainful expression. He smiled faintly and said, "Indeed, the 1,000 mystery sects Hua Dao and the battle realms Niu Deng. As I expected, they are somewhat strong. However, they are only SOSO." Wei Hua took out the second battle report, and his disdainful expression vanished. He frowned slightly and said, "This by Wuxia is rather problematic. Despite obtaining the snow race's inheritance, he actually destroyed a group of monarch-grade demonic corpses and killed 10-odd medial-grade martial sages. He nearly dragged out the leader, Elder Sun." When Kuei-do heard this, he said, "I fought with this by Wuxia in the starry heaven Silver Lake. He is indeed a powerful person." However, Long Fei did not care. He said, "They are just monarch-grade demonic corpses. No matter how many are destroyed, there is no need to feel too much heartache over the losses of medial-grade martial sages. Since Elder Sun managed to return, it is already worth it to test him out." Wei Hua felt the same way as well. Although Bai Wuxia was a powerful person, he did not feel any fear. He picked up the third battle report with a somewhat gloomy expression. This report recorded the process of the Blackstone Old Revenants team probing Azure Monarch Island. After Wei Hua unfolded it, his expression changed drastically with just one look. He exclaimed, "What? The Blackstone Old Revenant actually died? A team of 100 could not even delay him for a moment." Wang Qin, Long Fei, and Kuei-do were all startled. They quickly read through the battle reports, their eyes filled with disbelief. "How bold of him! He dares to block a team of 100 people from my corpse race alone." Long Fei said in rage as he waved the folding fan in his hand. Wang Qin said somewhat worriedly, "This fellow is clearly here to kill Elder Blackstone. He probably let those inferior-grade martial sages go on purpose. He does not care about them at all." Kuei-do smiled coldly and said, "Good. If he had turned into a worm, it would not be interesting for me to trample on him." Whoosh! A metal sword pierced through the wall and flashed, flying towards Wei Hua. Wei Hua stretched out his hand and caught it. Then he slowly revealed a smile on his face. He said, "What a great fellow, Xiao Chun. This is a great help to me. In less than 2 months, Dragonwood Star will definitely change hands." Wang Qin quickly asked, "Brother Wei, why are you so happy? What news did that person send?" Long Fei casually shook his hand and shattered the metal sword into pieces. He said calmly, "This time, Xiao Chun will definitely die. Someone has already thought of a countermeasure for us. Come, let's go and make some preparations first. Then, we will wait for the good news and make our move at any time." Back on Black Monarch Island, Xiaofeng, the yellow-robed old man, and Qin Wu, the 3 upper echelon members of the island, went to Xiao Chun's residence together. For the past few days, Xiao Chen had remained in seclusion, continuously comprehending and perfecting his Tao. He did not spend all his time on his cultivation. Right now his saber Tao was the most important. It had already reached a critical juncture. Every day, a large number of ideas appeared and were quickly rejected. At the same time, he was waiting for some people to make a move. Today it had finally arrived. Little friend Xiao Chen, brother Xia and brother Xiao have already reflected on what happened in the Great Hall. This old man will help me set up a connection and get the two of them to apologize to you again. Consider it as no discord, no concord. After Qin Wu entered, he lowered his status and spoke sincerely to Xiao Chen. Xia Feng and the yellow-robed old man also had smiles on their faces as they said some seemingly sincere words. Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart, but his expression did not change. He looked at Xia Feng and said, "Island Master Xia, you probably did not come here just to apologize, right?" Xia Feng did not show any anger on his old face. Instead, he said somewhat apologetically, "Little friend Xiao Chen, you misunderstand. This time, I am indeed here to apologize to little friend. At the same time, I also brought a token from Senior Huangpu. I hope that little friend Xiao Chen can officially go out and harass the corpse race army. If I continue to pretend, I will expose my whereabouts to the upper echelon of the corpse race as soon as I go out. Boundless danger awaits me." Xiao Chen received the token and casually placed it on the table. He said coldly, "If I am not wrong, Island Master Xia spent a lot of effort to obtain this token from Senior Huangpu, right?" Xia Feng, who was exposed, was clearly stunned. Although he quickly covered it up, it could not escape Xiao Chen's eyes. Xiao Chen could not be bothered to say more. He closed his eyes and ignored Xia Feng. "Humph! How bold of you, Xiao Chen. Now you even dare to disobey Lord Huangpu Feng's orders. Just you wait. I will definitely report this matter. The Bushan Palace will not let you off so easily." Chapter 879. Xia Feng revealed his true colors and left ruthlessly. Then he led the yellow-robed old man away, leaving behind an embarrassed Qin Wu. "Old Mr. Qin, there is no need to feel conflicted. In less than 7 days, everything will come to light." Xiao Chen opened his eyes and said something that Qin Wu could not understand. Now, Xiao Chen was 100% sure of his guess. How could Xiao Chen tolerate such an ambitious person? After old Qin left in a daze, Xiao Chen stood up, and his eyes turned cold. "This Xia Feng definitely did not expect that I would dare to reject Huangpu Feng's orders. Within 7 days, he will definitely inform the corpse race that there is a change in the plan. At that time, I will be able to catch him easily. I will kill this scoundrel. Otherwise, I will not be able to fight to the death with the corpse race. Think about it. If you focused on fighting at the front, and someone informed the enemy of your movements, what kind of terrifying scene would that be? However, before that, it is time to subdue and suppress the death throne. Now that my immortal will of thunder has reached 40% comprehension, and I have advanced to martial sage, what is there to fear?" A light flashed on Xiao Chen's forehead, and a black light came out. This was one of the 7 thrones, the death throne. Massacre, destruction, destruction, grief, pain, despair, death. The 7 thrones looked like they were all negative emotions. However, when one thought about it, the cycle from massacre to death was a cycle from life to death. The state of cycle definitely surpassed all the states in the world. It was on the same level as the state of primal chaos formed by Chu Chaoyun's state of light and darkness. They both pointed to the origin of the great Tao. However, it was still too far away now. Xiao Chen had only collected 2 thrones. He could not bite off more than he could chew. He had to subdue the death throne first, and be able to circulate death chi. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense flew out of his forehead with the purple lightning talisman. With a flash of electric light, it entered the throne. A boundless sea of death chi appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. With the experience of subduing the massacre throne, the purple lightning talisman hovered above Xiao Chen's head as it flew towards the sea of death. No matter how vast the sea was, it would not go on forever. Occasionally, black tentacles leaped out of the sea and swung at the body formed by Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. However, before they could touch it, the electric saber chi from the talisman shattered them. This did not stop Xiao Chun from advancing. The further he went, the denser the death chi became. The talisman above him sent out strands of electric light, encasing Xiao Chun and preventing him from being to it. Junior, you finally came out. Just as Xiao Chun flew to the end, the death chi below surged and surged back, forming a 1-kilometer-tall demonic figure that looked down at Xiao Chun from above. Xiao Chun's figure wavered, and his spiritual sense body became 1,000-fold larger. He looked at that demonic figure and said, I should be the one saying that. You finally could not resist coming out. It looks like the deterrence of my purple lightning talisman is rather strong. Naturally, this demonic figure was the item spirit of the death throne. However, the evil king was already dead, and this item spirit had mutated long ago. It was now an evil spirit. Humph. It is just the immortal will of thunder. How much harm do you think it can do to me? I'll give you a chance to become stronger. Sign an equal contract with me and help me recover my strength. I will provide you with death chi. The demonic figure did not even look at the purple lightning talisman. It did not care at all as it made a condition for Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun found it funny. This demonic figure really knows how to act. It will not shed a tear until it sees the coffin. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and pointed. Without any warning, the purple lightning talisman flew towards the demonic figure. Instantly, a flickering electric light crackled within the demonic figure. The demonic figure's body shrank continuously as it howled in pain. Finally, it shrank back to its normal human form and rolled around on the surface of the sea. In the past, Xiao Chun would not have been confident of dealing with this evil spirit with just 10% of the immortal will of thunder. Now there was nothing to fear. If this evil spirit was truly powerful, Wang Qing would not have been defeated by it back then. It could only be said that this evil spirit was just bluffing. The demonic figure could not use much of the Death Throne's energy. Like the Massacre Throne's evil spirit, it was still accumulating energy. Stop. Stop. I'll sign a contract with you and be your servant forever. I know all the secrets of the Death Throne. I can help you ascend to the Death Great Tao and surpass all the martial emperors of the corpse race and ghost race. The demonic figure could not help begging for mercy amid the pain. As an evil spirit, you should not exist in this world in the first place. Go in peace. What I seek is the Tao of reincarnation, my own ultimate saber Tao. I do not care about the Death Great Tao. How could Xiao Chun believe the words of such an evil being? Furthermore, he did not care about the Death Great Tao either. Xiao Chun subdued the 7 thrones and grasped the state of cycle. His ultimate goal was to serve his saber Tao. The Tao of reincarnation was also created by someone before him. Xiao Chun's martial Tao was a path that no one had ever taken before or since. He embraced many schools of thought, using his body as a saber and his thoughts as a saber, creating a supreme saber Tao. Amid the demonic figure's dissatisfied cries, Xiao Chun used the will of thunder to refine it. Then he placed his spiritual mark on the Death Throne, officially subduing 2 of the 7 thrones. Xiao Chun's spiritual sense and the purple lightning talisman returned to his body. Then he withdrew the Death Throne into his sea of consciousness. The 2 thrones, one red and one black, slowly spun in his sea of consciousness. The purple lightning talisman was like an aloof king, looking down on the 2 thrones. With a thought, black death chi came out of Xiao Chun's fingertips. He smiled in satisfaction and said, I should be able to execute the ancient underworld river wave palm now. The Death Great Tao is really miraculous. Unexpectedly, the death chi in the world can bring out such great might. Xiao Chun closed his eyes and carefully comprehended, merging several mysteries of the Death Great Tao with his saber Tao. By the time Xiao Chun opened his eyes, the sky had already turned dark. He had spent an entire day on this. However, he had gained a lot. If he ran into the corpse race's people, he would definitely be able to give them a pleasant surprise. After looking at the sky outside the window, Xiao Chun put on the heavenly sea cloak and sneaked out. When he arrived above the palace where Xiao Feng resided, he activated the cloak's special effect, completely concealing himself. For the entire night, everything in the palace was normal. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Every day, Xiao Feng would use his flying sword to report the situation on the island to Huang Pufeng's headquarters. Xiaochen was very patient. He was also very confident of his guesses. The other party would definitely give himself away. In the end, after 3 days, Xiaofeng did not make any strange movements. Just as Xiaochen's patience was about to run out, Xiaochen finally discovered something wrong on the 7th day. As usual, Xiaofeng sent out a flying sword message. 2 hours later, Xiaofeng strangely sent out another flying sword message. 2 hours later, another strange flying sword flew out. Xiaochen looked carefully. That flying sword flew in the direction of the corpse race's main camp. However, after flying halfway, it quickly turned around and headed for the corpse race's black-patterned island. What a fellow! He finally gave himself away. Xiaochen smiled faintly and revealed himself. Then he quickly chased after the flying sword. The flying sword moved strangely fast, like a beam of light. Even when Xiaochen executed his thunder dragon steps to its limits, he could not catch up. In the end, he used the cloak's acceleration function, and barely managed to catch the flying sword. Xiaochen sent in his spiritual sense, and information entered his mind. That fellow is very cautious. He is starting to suspect me. Change of plans. Don't touch him for now. However, Wuxia is a little restless. He wants to lead the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island to launch a surprise attack on your flank. Using lightning quick means to kill everyone on the island. You can surround them and take down Black Monarch Island in one go. After that, you can break through the third line of defense. Remember, after we loot Dragonwood Star, according to our agreement, you have to give me half of the resources. Xiaochen toyed with the metal sword in his hand. His expression turned somewhat grave. Xiaofeng was the commander of the third line of defense. Unexpectedly, he had become the enemy's spy. However, when Xiaochen thought about the reward, he felt that it was indeed tempting. There was an entire resource star's worth of wealth. Now that Xiaochen had nothing on him, he could not help feeling tempted. After putting away the metal sword, Xiaochen turned around and barged into Qin Wu's residence, startling the other party, who was cultivating. When Xiaochen explained his purpose for coming and showed Qin Wu the information on the metal sword, Qin Wu flew into a rage. Qin Wu flew into a rage and went completely berserk. He cursed. I was wondering why the first 2 defensive lines were broken so quickly. 2 resource planets were plundered in succession. It can be said that the corpse race's surprise attack was effective. However, not only did this Dragonwood Star take in the remaining experts of the first 2 resource stars, but it also made preparations. It should not have suffered such a miserable defeat. It turns out that this is because of this traitorous dog. The impression that this old man before Xiaochen gave him was that he was the kind of person who tried to smooth things over. Xiaochen had not expected this old man to have such a huge reaction after learning the truth. Xiaochen, it looks like he purposely targeted you from the start. Come, let's go and kill this traitor now. Qin Wu did not want to drag things out, so he immediately pulled Xiaochen over to kill this spy. Xiaochen originally thought so as well. However, when he saw the information on the flying sword, he changed his mind. Elder Qin, you should know how to send a flying sword, right? Qin Wu asked doubtfully. I do. Why? Xiaochen narrowed his eyes and smiled. Good. In that case, let's not bother with this traitor for now. Just send this metal sword over in its original form. We can beat him at his own game. Beat him at his own game? Qin Wu asked with some doubt. How do we beat him at his own game? Xiaochen smiled faintly and unfurled the sea chart. The second line of defense consisted of 3 islands and 10-odd subsidiary islands. In the past few days, the junior generation disciples of the Haotian sect had been reaping the fruits of their labor on these subsidiary islands. They harassed the Haotian sect and left after 1 round of attacks. Every time, they would reap a large harvest. However, in the end, these subsidiary islands did not have any main forces. They did not have any superior-grade martial sages guarding them. The corpse race still sent people there mainly to collect as many resources as possible. The ordinary people on the subsidiary islands needed someone to supervise and make arrangements. Only then would they be able to continue mining and gathering spirit herbs at the bottom of the sea. Chapter 880. In particular, whether it was the corpse race or the other races, they would not take the initiative to attack mortals in this kind of battle on a resource star. Otherwise, it would be a great taboo. The mortals also knew this logic. No matter who occupied the resource planet, their treatment and rewards would not change. They would not resist their orders too much. In any case, they were the same as everyone else. The basic remuneration would not be reduced. It was just that the resources that they dug up would be delivered to a different target. Right now, the main force of the corpse race is concentrated on Black Patterned Island. There are probably no less than 20 superior grade martial sages there. There are also Long Fei and Wei Hua, two demonic geniuses who far surpass regular superior grade martial sages. A large number of saint-tier demonic corpses are probably on this island as well. Old sir, what do you think about the strength of the corpse race? Qin Wu muttered. They are very strong. Dragonwood Star has taken in the cultivators of the first 2 resource stars. Right now there are only 30 superior grade martial sages. Black Monarch Island, White Monarch Island, and Azure Monarch Island have 3 superior grade martial sages each. The rest are in the main camp. Xiaochen raised his eyebrows and a smile appeared on his delicate face. He said, they are indeed very strong. Not to mention that the corpse race has mastered the secret method of refining demonic corpses. The large number of corpses in battle will also increase their strength. The more they fight, the stronger they become. But to refine a devil corpse, they need a corpse refining pool. It is not easy to build a corpse refining pool, and it requires a lot of effort and time. As long as this corpse refining pool is destroyed, their devil corpse will die. And when the devil corpse is killed, they will lose even if they don't lose. The strength of the corpse race lay in the demonic corpses. Without the demonic corpses, with their numbers, no matter how powerful they were, they could only be massacred when faced with human cultivators who outnumbered them by several times. Qin Wu said, I know this. However, the corpse refining pool has already been moved to Black Patterned Island. There will definitely be strong soldiers guarding it. Destroying this corpse refining pool is easier said than done. Xiaochen pointed to Black Monarch Island and smiled. Now the opportunity is here. When Long Fei and the others found out that Bai Wuxia wanted to kill the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island, they will definitely lay a heavy ambush. We will also have to mobilize many of the forces on Black Patterned Island to fight a beautiful victory. The most important thing is that if I want to suppress Bai Wuxia easily, Long Fei and Wei Hua will have to work together. Just one of them will be enough for Bai Wuxia to leave. That will be my chance. Qin Wu's eyes lit up. He felt that this plan was feasible. With Xiaochen's strength, without Long Fei and Wei Hua holding him back, he should be able to infiltrate Black Patterned Island and leave easily. However, in the blink of an eye, he started to worry. He said, this is not appropriate. Watching Bai Wuxia and the others jump into the fire pit is a little. Once the corpse refining pool is broken, it is only a matter of time before the corpse race falls. The situation of Dragonwood Star can be reversed in an instant. As for Bai Wuxia, he clearly came up with such a risky move for the sake of military merits. He only has himself to blame. However, don't worry. Bai Wuxia and Shimen Bao will not die. Once the corpse refining pool can no longer hold out, Long Fei and Wei Hua will definitely return to save them. After hearing Xiaochen's words, Qin Wu considered the big picture for a long time. Finally, he made up his mind and said, in that case, we will do as you say. Brother Xiaochen has done a great job by finding the traitor. If we can break the corpse refining pool, it will be another great job. I will definitely report this to the higher-ups. At that time, there will definitely be military merits. It might even be possible for me to be conferred a marquis. Breaking the corpse refining pool was equivalent to resolving the crisis of a resource star. In terms of practical use, it would be much more useful than killing many martial sages. The military merits would definitely be high. After Qin Wu finished speaking, he formed hand seals, and the iron sword flew back to Black Patterned Island. As Qin Wu watched the iron sword fly away, his expression remained grave. He said, even if there are no peak demonic geniuses like Long Fei and Wei Hua near the corpse refining pool, there will be plenty of older generation superior grade martial sages. The danger of this trip will not be low. Take care. Naturally, Xiaoqun knew how dangerous it was. However, as long as Long Fei and Wei Hua were not around, given his current strength, no matter how many people surrounded him, he would still be able to leave. This Xiaoqun is really bold. In the end, whether this plan succeeds or not will depend on his personal strength. Otherwise, not only will he not be able to destroy the corpse refining island, but he will also lose the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island. As Qin Wu watched Xiaoqun leave, he felt somewhat unfathomable. Exactly how strong was this person? After Xiaoqun returned, he immediately gathered Jin Lin, Xiao Xian and Lu Ke. He instructed the three of them to lead a team tomorrow and carry out a big operation. After Jin Lin heard this, he could not help but smile joyfully. We are finally going to attack an island with a superior grade martial sage. With this, our military merits will soar. Over the past few days, the three of them had not only gained a bountiful harvest, but their strength had also increased significantly. They had successfully broken through to medial grade martial sage. In terms of cultivation, they were even higher than Xiaoqun. However, even though they were medial grade martial sages, when the three looked at Xiaoqun, they still found him unfathomable and unfathomable. They could not underestimate him at all. Right now, Xiaoqun did not focus on cultivating. His cultivation remained at peak inferior grade martial sage. He focused most of his attention on his saber Dao. As long as he comprehended his saber Dao, it would not be difficult for him to raise his cultivation. Go ahead and make your move tomorrow. There is no need to run after fighting like the past few days. The other party will not send any reinforcements. Your mission is to kill the superior grade martial sage on the island. Do not let him leave alive. We promise to do it, the three answered in unison. After giving a few more instructions, Xiaoqun dismissed the three. Then he placed a jade strip containing a star chart in his hand and carefully sized up the resource stars in the nearby starry domains. Xiaoqun's gaze fell on the two resource stars that the Corpse God Palace had already occupied. A bright light flashed in his eyes as he continued to look up to the resource stars that the corpse race controlled. Then he entered deep thought. As Xiaoqun made arrangements, Wei Hua and the others, who received the message by the flying sword, rejoiced. Wei Hua held the metal sword in his hand and smiled. By Wuxia, what a good fellow. He is very bold. Unexpectedly, he wants to wipe out all the corpse race troops on the islands to the side. What a fool. Right now, the two armies are locked in a stalemate. Whoever makes a mistake will be consigned to eternal damnation. Since he wants to play big, I will play big with him. Brother Long Fei, go and inform the young master of the Muddy Sky Gate. Tomorrow, we will destroy Bai Wuxia and break the third line of defense. Then we will attack the Bushan Palace's main camp and take down Dragonwood Star in one fell swoop. Long Fei said, the Bushan Palace's main camp is not that easy to break. Even if we work with the Muddy Sky Gate, we will not be able to take it down quickly. How about this? Tomorrow, you and Wang can lead 2/3 of the cultivators on the island to lay an ambush. Brother Kuei-do and I, as well as the remaining people, will guard the corpse refining pool. With the corpse refining pool, there will be an endless supply of monarch-grade demonic corpses. We will always hold the advantage. That way, we will be more confident. Wei Hua thought for a while before saying, very well, let's do that then. With the two of you and a few seniors, the corpse refining pool will not have to worry about any small fries coming to cause trouble. 2/3 of the corpse race cultivators will be sufficient to easily destroy Bai Wuxia's group and break the third line of defense, forming an encirclement with the Muddy Sky Gate. The situation of Dragonwood Star will no longer be able to change. At dusk the next day, Bai Wuxia had already organized a team of 100 people on Black Monarch Island. Although there were not many of them, they were all elites. They were all medial grade martial sages. The two superior grade martial sage vice island masters of Black Monarch Island were also persuaded by Bai Wuxia to join the group. These vice island masters were confident in their own strength. As long as they did not get too heavily surrounded, they should be able to escape. Furthermore, Bai Wuxia contributed a large number of astral coins, so they agreed to take the risk with him. Bai Wuxia stretched out his hand, and a pearl with a cold light on it appeared in his palm. Shiman Bao's eyes lit up as he said, "This is the thing that can allow the 50 of us to sneak into the wing island of Black Patterned Island without anyone noticing? This is the snow race's secret treasure, the Heavenly Ice Pearl. It can execute water evasion. Don't worry. We will definitely be able to sneak in without anyone noticing." Shiman Bao still felt somewhat worried. He said, "I still feel that this trip is too risky. If we are all wiped out, Black Monarch Island's defenses will be finished. No matter how many inferior grade martial sages and half-sages there are, they will just be decorations." Bai Wuxia smiled confidently and said, "How can that be possible? We will end this quickly. At most, we will be able to finish it in an hour. After all, there are 3 superior grade martial sages on that island. That is 30,000 military merits. Adding in the other corpse race cultivators on the island, after we kill them all, we will be able to take the lead over Xiaochun." The Heavenly Ice Pearl gave off a beam of light and sucked in the group. Then it quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. The true chaos of the peaceful dragonwood star was about to begin. Xiaochun, Wei Hua, and Bai Wuxia all felt that their plan was foolproof, that nothing could go wrong. Bai Wuxia's target island was called Heavenly Wind Island. The most famous resource on the island was the Heavenly Wind Grass, a spirit herb containing wind-attributed energy. Although it was not as precious as the black patterned gold, there was a lot of it. Furthermore, there were also crystal mines of various attributes. The corpse race had stationed many people on the island as well. Naturally, the strongest were the 3 superior grade martial sages. The rest were mostly inferior grade martial sages and half-sages. There were only about 10 medial grade martial sages. After all, this was not the main camp of the corpse race. There was no need to station too many troops here. This was the information that Bai Wuxia obtained. He had personally investigated and verified it repeatedly. Based on the strength of the 2 sides, his group of elite martial sages would definitely be able to kill all the corpse race cultivators on the island within 2 hours. Not only would this raise the morale of the Bushan Palace's side, but his military merits would also surpass Xiao Chen's. Under the night sky, a huge ice pearl silently leaped out of the water on a beach of Heavenly Wind Island. After that, there was a flash of light, and Bai Wuxia put away the Heavenly Ice Pearl. The elite martial sages who sneak-attacked Heavenly Wind Island all revealed themselves. Shiman Bao looked around and looked at the quiet Heavenly Wind Island. He smiled and said, "Brother Bai's Heavenly Ice Pearl is indeed powerful. We managed to come here without anyone noticing. What should we do now?" "What should we do?" Bai Wuxia revealed a carefree smile and said, "Do I still need to say it? Naturally, we will kill all the Buddhas we meet. If we meet gods, we will kill gods. We will sweep through Heavenly Wind Island and kill them all, establishing supreme military merits." Chapter 881. Bai Wuxia's words immediately stirred up the hot-bloodedness of the people behind him. They all activated the heavenly sage laws in their bodies and charged forward together with Bai Wuxia. Under the lead of the 20 elite martial sages, the patrolling demonic corpses in the way crumbled upon contact. Bai Wuxia led the charge. He could not last even one exchange with his palm. The demonic corpses fell in droves. When they arrived at the center of the island, Bai Wuxia suddenly stopped. His expression changed slightly as he said, "What's wrong?" Along the way, all we saw were corpse race demonic corpses. We did not see a single corpse race cultivator. The others only cared about killing. Furthermore, Bai Wuxia's earlier words provoked them, so they did not feel any burden in their hearts. They all thought that this Heavenly Wind Island was already a dead island. Now that they heard Bai Wuxia's reminder, they could not help but think about it. This was indeed the case. That's right. Why is there not a single corpse race cultivator? Don't tell me they're all hiding? That would be too boring. Bai Wuxia thought for a while. Then his expression changed. He said, "Quick, let's go. We have been exposed. We have fallen into an ambush." Seeing that the others had not reacted yet, Bai Wuxia got up and retreated without any care, deciding to leave first. Along the way, they did not see a single corpse race cultivator, letting them kill the demonic corpses. Clearly, the corpse race wanted to lure them to the center of the island. If this was not an ambush, what else could it be? However, Wuxia could not figure out how the news got out. Furthermore, the corpse race even made arrangements in advance. Wuxia, why are you thinking of leaving now? Weren't you saying earlier that you were going to sweep through Heavenly Wind Island? A figure appeared in front of Wuxia in the night sky, blocking his way. Death Chi surged out as this person threw a palm strike at the retreating Wuxia. The underworld fire sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua? When Wuxia saw the appearance of this person, his heart could not help but sink. This time things might have gone too far. Unexpectedly, even Wei Hua came. The two's palm strikes collided, and they both moved back 100 steps. Wuxia did not have time to scatter the death chi circulating in his palm. Another person appeared in the air. Without giving Wuxia a chance to catch his breath, this person sent him back to the Black Monarch Island group with a palm strike. The person who attacked was Wang Can, who had come with Wei Hua. Although Wang Can was weaker than Wuxia, he was more than enough to work with Wei Hua. Pung pung pung. The luminous stones rose into the air, and the bright light exploded bit by bit, illuminating the entire sky, making it as bright as daytime. Xiaochen saw 4 superior grade martial sages leading large groups of corpse race cultivators, medial grade martial sages, inferior grade martial sages, and horrifying demonic corpses surrounding the group. In the sky, there were 3 king-grade warships of the corpse race. All of them were refined from the corpses of powerful flood dragons. Their mouths contained a terrifying death chi, and their blood-red eyes were incomparably frightening. When the 2 Vice Island Masters of Black Monarch Island, Wuxia, Shiman Bao, and the group of peak medial grade martial sages, saw this lineup, they were all frightened silly. Their faces turned ashen. This lineup was practically the entire corpse race army moving out. What's going on? Wasn't this a sneak attack? How did we end up like turtles in a jar? Wuxia, what's going on? The 2 Vice Island Masters felt very anxious. They were both startled and furious. With such a lineup, how could they survive? Wuxia had done them in. Horror filled Shiman Bao's eyes. At this moment, he had completely lost his mind. He said in a trembling voice, Wuxia, what should we do? There are so many corpse race experts and 3 king-grade warships. We are dead for sure. With Emperor Wu holding down the fort, the Shiman clan would definitely have some means to protect themselves. However, Shiman Bao thought to himself that in such a situation, the secret treasures they had to protect themselves would not be enough. Wuxia was someone who had seen such a scene before. After a flustered expression, he calmed down and said, Your great-grandfather is Emperor Wu after all. This Wei Hua will not kill you. At most, he will imprison you and extort some money from your great-grandfather. When Shiman Bao heard this, his expression could not help but turn even more unsightly. He was an outstanding talent. Yet he had become a prisoner of the battlefield. To him, this was even worse than death. As for the 2 Vice Island Masters, haha. If this Bai is not wrong, the Black Monarch Island's Island Master leaked the news. You can't blame this Bai for this. The faces of the 2 Vice Island Masters sank. They said in unison, That's impossible. The Island Master's son died at the hands of the corpse race. How could he betray the enemy? He was the first to approve of your plan. Wuxia thought, could there be an even higher-ranked spy? However, after thinking about it, he revealed a bitter smile. So what if it was? So what if it wasn't? Today he, Wuxia, was at his wit's end. Cripple yourselves and surrender. I will give you a chance to live. Otherwise, all of you will die, consigned to eternal damnation. Wei Hua said sullenly with a grave and stern expression. Wei Hua's expression turned grave and stern as he spoke in a deep voice. Immediately, all the corpse race cultivators shouted, Cripple yourselves and surrender yourselves. Their voices were like the waves of the sea, resounding in all directions without end. Before these voices, the morale of the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island plummeted. They felt that there was no way out. They did not even have the courage to fight. Become a prisoner? When Wuxia thought of this, he revealed a determined expression. If he really became a prisoner, then he would just end his own life. Leave from the east. I'll make an opening for you. Whether you can escape or not will depend on your luck. Bai Wuxia glanced at the 4 superior-grade martial sages guarding the east. However, he did not feel confident at all. Under the illumination of the night light stones, the island was as bright as day. Wei Hua could clearly see the expressions of this group of people. They all had expressions of victory in their grasp. After killing this group of people, Black Monarch Island would be completely defenseless. After that, they would launch a night attack and break through the final line of defense. Then, together with the Muddy Sky Gate, they would launch a pincer attack on Bushin Palace's headquarters. With the corpse refining pool, Dragonwood Star's fall was only a matter of time. As Wei Hua expected, everything was within his control. He felt very smug as he waved his hand, preparing to give the order to attack. The strong elite team was at least a medial-grade martial sage. They should have boundless combat prowess and be able to hold their own. Now that they had lost all their fighting spirit, their faces ashen, they felt that there was nothing they could do to reverse the situation. No matter what, they could not avoid death. Rumble. Just at this moment, startling cries rang out from the east of the encirclement. A team of 20 people, led by a white figure, charged forward. Unexpectedly, no one in the corpse race could stop them. Under the light of the night light stones, that white figure looked very bright. When he attacked, the hum of a powerful saber resounded. His entire body radiated a sharp light, and a purple lightning talisman floated above his head. For beams of golden light flowed on the lightning talisman. Occasionally, it released beams of golden light. No one could stop him for even a moment. Behind him were 20-odd youths of the younger generation. Compared to Bai Wuxia's elite team, they were much weaker. However, all of them were full of fighting spirit. No matter who it was, they attacked ferociously, not showing any intention of retreating. They burst forth with startling combat prowess. Under the lead of that white figure, this team miraculously tore a hole in the encirclement in an instant. Xiao Chen knocked back 4 superior-grade martial sages with one punch, one after another. He did not give them a chance to work together at all. As their hair fluttered, their white robes were dyed red with blood. Brother Wei Hua, it's been 2 years. We meet again. The myriad heaven divine fist's distant legend merged vital chi, magic energy, and quintessence to knock back a superior-grade martial sage of the corpse race. Xiao Chen stood firmly and looked calmly at the underworld fire sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua. Sagely music lingered in all directions, singing the legends of Xiao Chen. As the golden light shone down, Xiao Chen looked like a celestial being in the night sky, causing everyone to look up at him in amazement. Wei Hua's thoughts turned chaotic for a moment. Why did Xiao Chen come to this heavenly wind island at this time? Wei Hua was not the only one who could not figure it out. Bai Wuxia and the others, who originally thought that they could not reverse the situation, were shocked when they saw Xiao Chen, who was like a divine soldier descending from heaven. Bai Wuxia, Shimen Bao, if you do not leave now, when will you? When Xiao Chen saw the stunned Bai Wuxia, Shimen Bao, and the elite martial sages, he could not help but shout, his voice booming like thunder. The group of people seemed to wake up from a dream. They quickly headed in Xiao Chen's direction, using their clones to charge over. Wei Hua reacted. His expression turned frosty as he said coldly, "Good timing. We can deal with them all in one go. All corpse race cultivators heed my orders. Surround them and kill them all. Do not leave a single one alive." Ha! Deal with them all in one go. Naturally, the people that I, Xiao Chen, want to save cannot be left behind. Let's see how you, Wei Hua, are going to deal with them all in one go. Xiao Chen fought the 4 superior-grade martial sages of the corpse race alone. Then he opened his mouth and spat out the Dragon's Gate's warship. Haotian sect disciples, board the Dragon's Gate's warship. Jinlin, Xiaoxian and Lu Ku, the 3 of you drive the warship to receive them. I will bring up the rear. Looking at the dense, tide-like corpse race army closing in from all directions, Xiao Chen felt a chill run down his spine. Xiao Chen's white robes fluttered as he stood firmly on high ground. His heart was calm, and his thoughts were clear. Jinlin's group of 3 was very familiar with the Dragon's Gate's warship. When they came to Dragonwood Star, A group of curious juniors had turned the Dragon's Gate's warship upside down. The warship flew quickly, instantly pushing through the crowd and arriving before by Wuxia and the others. When these people saw the Dragon's Gate's warship, they rejoiced and leaped onto it. Seeing that all 20 people had leaped onto the warship, Jin Lin immediately controlled the Dragon's Gate's warship to soar into the sky. However, 3 Corpse Race King-grade warships blocked it. Xiao Xian, control the cannons and the propulsion arrows. The rest of you, do your best to maintain the Dragon's Gate's warship's protective barrier. Come and play with these 3 stinky dragons. Let's show them what it means to suppress a group of kings. Jin Lin laughed loudly. He did not fear the 3 Corpse Race King-grade warships blocking his way. The other Haoyan sect disciples on the warship also ran around enthusiastically. When Bai Wuxia and the others saw this scene, they all felt deeply confused. How could this group of people have such high morale? When Xiaochen, who was on the ground, saw the Dragon's Gate's warship rise into the air, he smiled faintly and relaxed, focusing on the situation before him. Chapter 882. The well-trained corpse race cultivators controlled the demonic corpses, surrounding Xiaochen in layers. The 16 superior grade martial sages in the center worked together to attack Xiaochen. Such a situation was extremely dangerous. Even if a grandmaster-level martial sage were here, he would not have a good time. However, Xiaochen already knew when to advance and when to retreat. The battle between the 16 superior grade martial sages of the corpse race and Xiaochen covered a large area. The corpse race cultivators outside surrounded the battlefield and could not interfere. As Xiaochen moved around the 16 superior grade martial sages, there was no surprise in his eyes. He had expected such a situation long ago. Xiaochen did not need to deal with all the corpse race cultivators. He only needed to deal with these 16 superior grade martial sages. How could an outsider dare to interfere in such a huge battle? The shock waves alone could crush them into powder. This was also the reason why Xiaochen dared to cut off his escape route. Wei Hua and Wang Qin stood side by side in the air. As they watched Xiaochen deal with the 16 superior grade martial sages of the corpse race, they were somewhat astonished. Wang Qin exclaimed in shock, "This Xiaochen's movement technique is really horrifying. Not only is he extremely fast, but he also has perfect control over his agility. No matter how fast he is, he can stop at will and change at will. It looks like he is fighting 16 superior grade martial sages, but in reality he is fighting one person at a time." Wei Hua's gaze was very sharp. When he saw the black cloak that Xiaochen wore after the battle started, he said, "The problem should be with that black cloak. Although that thing is not a king-grade secret treasure, I feel that it is more practical than several king-grade secret treasures. However, no matter how good a secret treasure is, Xiaochen will die for sure today. Unexpectedly, he is extremely bold, daring to block our corpse race army alone. Does he really think that he is a grandmaster-level martial sage?" Wei Hua's tone turned cold as he spoke emotionlessly. He secretly stored up power, preparing to attack at any moment to deal a fatal blow to Xiaochen. As Xiaochen moved around the 16 superior grade martial sages, he quickly gained a clear understanding of their strength. Xiaochen looked around and left behind an afterimage. In an instant, he arrived before the weakest corpse race martial sage of the 16. 3 or 4 attacks hit the afterimage in an instant. The afterimage only stayed for a moment before it was completely shattered. It was this moment that gave Xiaochen a chance to survive. Xiaochen circulated his rank 3 sage body and took 4 or 5 attacks head-on. Then he punched out and executed deities descending. Light shone from his body as his aura soared. With a single punch, tens of thousands of treasured sabers buzzed in the air. The saber intent was unparalleled. Waves of blade qi surged out from the tip of Xiaochen's fist. The man's right sleeve was shredded into pieces as his flesh and blood flew out bit by bit. Under the sharp blade qi, the man's right arm was soon reduced to a skeleton. Kasie. Kasie. Electricity exploded, and the skeleton shattered. Xiaochen's punch, which was 10 times his combat prowess, directly shattered the man's right arm. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and pulled. As the other party screamed miserably, He grabbed the other party's left wrist. Strands of electric energy were like sharp knives as they surged into the other party's body, slicing through it layer by layer. With a gentle spin, Xiaochen sent this corpse race cultivator flying. The surrounding superior-grade martial sages did not dare to touch him for fear of injuring him, leaving a large space for Xiaochen. Wei Hua catch. A strong wind blew, and Xiaochen danced around wildly. Suddenly, he shouted and tossed this corpse race martial sage's body like a cannonball towards Wei Hua, who was watching the show in the air. Wei Hua had been storing up qi all along, preparing to kill Xiaochen when he revealed an opening. How could he have expected Xiaochen to do this? Wei Hua did not know whether to catch it or not. In the end, he clenched his teeth and decided to catch it. Otherwise, if he did not care about the life or death of the person flying over in front of so many corpse race cultivators, it would be too disappointing. Wei Hua's face sank, and he stretched out his hands. In an instant, he firmly grabbed the corpse race martial sage flying over. A strong wind blew over, making it difficult for Wei Hua to open his eyes. He thought to himself, what a strong force, at least 1,000 tons of force. Bang! Just as Wei Hua thought this, the body of the corpse race cultivator in his hand suddenly exploded. Thousands upon thousands of electric saber qi containing a vast and pure saber intent scattered in all directions. The light was very dazzling, immediately outshining the light of the night light stone. Wei Hua, who was in the middle of it, could not dodge in time. The explosion knocked him back and he vomited blood. Wang Can, who was standing beside Wei Hua, was not in a much better state. The saber qi covered his entire body in wounds. If not for the secret treasure inner vest protecting them, they might have died from being caught off guard. Xiaochen laughed loudly and said, "Brother Wei Hua, you are very skilled. Unexpectedly you caught it so accurately. This Xiao is in awe." Xiaochen leaped up and soared into the air. Immediately, 3 or 4 superior-grade martial sages flew over and blocked his path. A few superior-grade martial sages flanked him, working together to prevent him from escaping to the sides. In the blink of an eye, these superior-grade martial sages showed great tacit understanding as they surrounded Xiaochen again. However, this time, Xiaochen did not intend to continue fighting. The magic energy in his sea of consciousness surged and drained rapidly. Xiaochen suddenly looked up. Suddenly, the superior-grade martial sage in front of him felt like thousands of sabers pierced through his body, riddled with holes and dying without a complete corpse. He was completely frightened silly. When that superior-grade martial sage recovered his wits, he could not help but rub his body and mutter to himself, confusing the others. "Elder Qiu, be careful!" The others quickly shouted. How could they be distracted at this moment? Xiaochen did not slow down at all as he soared into the air. The corpse race old man with the family name Qiu was in a daze. He could not tell the difference between life and death. That earlier feeling of death was simply too real. Xiaochen kicked, and a saber light flashed. The head of the old man with the family name Qiu immediately flew off. The old man with the family name Qiu had only one thought in his mind. This time, he is really dead. 2 bright purple skulls appeared on Xiaochen's military merit medallion. He easily obtained 20,000 military merits. The encirclement also broke in an instant. The sky was high, and there was no one left to block Xiaochen. Kase. The monarch-grade demonic corpses in the way did not even need Xiaochen to make a move. Xiaochen's strong physical body smashed them into smithereens. Xiaochen charged forward, boundlessly ferocious. After killing his way out of the encirclement, before he could rest for a moment, a figure descended from the sky. Death Qi surged in his hand and formed an underworld river heading for Xiaochen. It was Wang Can. He had been waiting for Xiaochen to exhaust himself. He sent out an ancient underworld river wave palm at Xiaochen. Xiaochen smiled faintly and activated the death throne in his sea of consciousness. He circulated Death Qi and sent out an ancient underworld river wave palm as well. However, this ancient underworld river wave palm had an additional sharpness to it. An unparalleled saber intent was sharper and unblockable. Bang! 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 There were 3 consecutive explosions. Wang Can's death river broke in half by Xiaochen's death river, disappearing into nothingness. He disappeared into nothingness. Before he could react, he was struck by the Netherworld River. Wang Can vomited a mouthful of blood, his eyes filled with extreme shock. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen also knew this ancient underworld river wave palm. Furthermore, it was stronger than his. The Death Throne. I subdued the Death Throne. This thought appeared in Wang Can's mind. Suddenly he felt something tighten around his wrist. Xiaochen had grabbed him. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and pulled, using Wang Can as a shield behind him. The attacks of the corpse race immediately struck Wang Can's body, causing him so much pain that he wanted to die. He kept shouting, "Stop fighting! Stop fighting!" When Xiaochen saw Wei Hua blocking his way, he laughed loudly and tossed Wang Can over again. He said, "Brother Wei Hua, you are very skilled. Do you dare to receive another attack?" After suffering once, how could Wei Hua dare to receive another attack? He quickly dodged. Who knew this time, Wang Can's body did not explode. Xiaochen took advantage of this opportunity to dodge. With this, he managed to evade all the attacks. "Brother Wei Hua, we will meet again." Xiaochen's loud laughter rang out, lingering for a long time. Wei Hua's expression turned extremely hostile. Despite so many people, not only had they failed to block Xiaochen, but he had even killed 2 superior grade martial sages. From the start to the end, Xiaochen held the initiative. The 10-odd superior grade martial sages that rushed overside. "Young master, what should we do now? Are we still going to Black Monarch Island?" Someone asked in a soft voice. The 3 king grade warships could not block the Dragon's Gate's warship at all. It had fled long ago. Xiaochen had also fled without a trace. Their plans were all messed up. These people did not know what to do. Wei Hua thought for a while but still could not understand. How did Xiaochen appear on Heavenly Wind Island for no reason? Where did he get the news? Wei Hua could not figure it out. Could it really be a coincidence? Go to Black Monarch Island. The plan is probably already exposed. There is no need to be secretive anymore. Send a message to Xiaofeng and get him to coordinate with us from the inside. We can directly destroy Black Monarch Island. At that time, we will still be able to break through the 3rd line of defense. Wei Hua said with a sullen expression. Since it was already chaotic, then let it be completely chaotic. Even if they managed to save this group of people, the situation would still be in the corpse race's favor. The night sky was like a chessboard, filled with stars. Xiaochen moved quickly. Soon he caught up with Jin Lin and the others, who were piloting the Dragon's Gate's warship. On the deck, the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island were all badly shaken. When they thought about that scary scene earlier, they all felt that they would not be able to survive. Now that they were far away, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. Senior brother Xiaochen is back. When the Haotian sect juniors saw Xiaochen descend, they all cried out in pleasant surprise. Bai Wuxia looked at the seemingly unharmed Xiaochen with a complicated expression. Then he stepped forward and asked with a sullen expression, "Xiaochen, how did you get the news that we led a group to launch a sneak attack on Heavenly Wind Island today?" When the people of Black Monarch Island heard what Bai Wuxia said, their gazes turned strange. Indeed, this was top-secret information. How did Xiaochen get it? Shimen Bao shouted. "Xiaochen, did you tell the corpse race about us? Otherwise, how could you have appeared so coincidentally?" When Jin Lin heard these people making false accusations, he immediately cursed, "You bunch of bastards! If not for senior brother Xiaochen's benevolence, changing his mind before we left, you would have been killed long ago. Now you are blaming senior brother Xiaochen instead?" All the juniors of the Haotian sect were filled with righteous indignation. Based on their expressions, it looked like they wanted to throw the group off the warship. Chapter 883. Xiaochen smiled faintly and waved his hand, stopping Jin Lin and the others. Then he looked straight at Bai Wuxia and said sullenly, "That's right. I do know about your plan to sneak attack Heavenly Wind Island. I also know that the corpse race laid an ambush on Heavenly Wind Island, waiting for you to take the bait." Bai Wuxia and Shimen Bao's faces sank, and a murderous intent immediately gathered in their eyes. "However, I was not the one who leaked your movements. It was Azure Monarch Island's island master Xiaofeng. The evidence is with Qin Wu. I do not have it, so there is no need for me to explain too much. As long as I have a clear conscience, it will be fine. Whether you believe me or not has nothing to do with me. Xiaochen felt magnanimous in his heart, not feeling guilty at all. Originally, he had wanted to take the opportunity to go to Black Patterned Island and destroy the corpse refining pool. However, before he left, he thought about it. Bai Wuxia and Shimen Bao did indeed deserve to die because of their greed. However, the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island following them did not deserve to die. If Xiaochen built his military merits on the lives and deaths of these innocent people, it would be too unclean. As of now, he did not need to do this. Bai Wuxia and Shimen Bao exchanged glances. They saw confusion in each other's eyes, unable to figure out what was going on. However, the two vice-island masters of Black Monarch Island turned pale with fright. They said, "Little friend Xiaochen, are your words true? The person in charge of the 3 lines of defense of Dragon Wood Star colluded with the enemy and became a spy. This is a shocking matter." Naturally, it is true. Vice-Island Master Qin Wu already made a copy of the evidence and sent it to Lord Huang Pufeng along with Xiaofeng's plan. Soon, the truth will be revealed. Xiaochen spoke the truth. At this moment, there was nothing to hide. You all should leave. Once you make a move, the entire Dragon Wood Star will no longer be peaceful. If I am not wrong, Wei Hua should be leading the army of the corpse race to attack Azure Monarch Island. He wants to coordinate with Xiaofeng from the inside. Bai Wuxia and the others were skeptical. Xiaochen's words were simply too shocking. However, Xiaochen had already asked them to leave. They could no longer remain here. After all, this Dragon's Gate's warship belonged to Xiaochen. I, Bai Wuxia, will remember the favor of saving my life today. I, Bai Wuxia, will repay you sooner or later. However, the bet between us still stands. After Bai Wuxia said this somewhat unwillingly, his group left one after another, heading for Black Monarch Island. Pucci. As soon as these people left, Xiaochen coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. He immediately felt much better. Senior brother Xiaochen, are you all right? Jin Lin and the rest hurriedly stepped forward and asked with concern. Bringing up the rear alone and carrying the entire corpse race army, no matter what, it would not be as easy as Xiaochen looked. Xiaochen closed his eyes to regulate his breathing. When he opened his eyes, he smiled and said, "It's just a small injury. It's nothing serious." As Xiaochen charged out of the encirclement, he suffered a few blows. Even he could not remember how many of them he suffered. Given his rank 3 sage body, and the fact that he had avoided getting hit in any vital spots, these could only be considered minor injuries. He would recover after regulating his breathing for a while. Seeing that Xiaochen's complexion was not bad, Jin Lin and the others relaxed. They asked softly, "Where are we going now? Are we still going according to the original plan?" According to the original plan, Dragon Wood Star would not fall into chaos. As long as Xiaochen launched a sneak attack on the corpse refining pool, Wei Hua and the others would definitely return from Heavenly Wind Island. After all, they were not that far away. However, right now, the corpse race army was probably rushing to Black Monarch Island. At that time, whether they would receive news of the corpse refining pool or not would be a problem. Even if they received news, given the distance, they would not rush back. In any case, because of Xiaochen's benevolence, the situation on Dragon Wood Star fell into complete chaos beyond repair. However, it did not matter. It would fall into chaos sooner or later. As long as Xiaochen destroyed the corpse refining pool, the corpse race would return in defeat sooner or later. I'll lend you all the Dragon's Gate's warship to operate. Cancel the original plan. All of you will rush to Black Monarch Island's aid. This 3rd line of defense is extremely important. We absolutely cannot break it. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen stated his decision. When Jin Lin heard that Xiaochen had no intention of returning, he asked, "Senior brother Xiaochen, what are you going to do?" Me. Naturally, the original plan remained the same. I would still launch a sneak attack on the corpse refining pool. This was the best opportunity. Wei Hua would never expect that I would rush to Black Patterned Island right after I left the corpse race army. Xiaochen smiled gently and patted Jinlin's shoulder. He said, "Don't worry about me. Think about yourselves. My saber Dao has already reached a critical juncture. The greater the pressure, the more it will help me break through." The sky filled with starlight. A white figure leaped down from the bow of the warship. Before the gazes of the Haotian sect's junior generation disciples, Xiaochen stepped on the motes of starlight and headed for black-patterned island. Trying to destroy the corpse refining pool alone? Senior brother Xiaochen, your courage is truly unbelievable, Xiao Xian said ruefully as she watched the figure slowly leave. However, Jinlin had a fiery gaze. He said enviously, "It would be great if I could have seen your brother Xiaochen's courage and grace one day. He has absolute confidence and the air of a grandmaster. Our senior brother Xiaochen is definitely not weaker than the peak geniuses of the various races in the starry heaven Silver Lake." Activating the cloak's concealing effect, Xiaochen suppressed his murderous intent and headed for black-patterned island. The starlight opened the way for him, and the night provided cover for him. Xiaochen's heart was calm and peaceful. He did not feel any nervousness or excitement from the impending battle. In the night, he silently set foot on black-patterned island. Relying on the concealing cloak, Xiaochen brushed past the patrolling corpse race cultivators. No one discovered that an uninvited guest had arrived on this heavily guarded black-patterned island. The corpse refining pool was not hard to find. It was the place with the densest death qi on the island. Following the senses of his spiritual sense, Xiaochen floated on the ground and leaped over many figures. Without attracting anyone's attention, he arrived near the corpse refining pool. In midair, Xiaochen could see corpses piled up on the ground. Most of them were the corpses of various astral beasts. Occasionally, people would bring in the astral beasts they had just killed and leave after receiving their rewards. Many black-clad men busied themselves with the astral beasts' corpses. They skillfully cut open the astral beasts' stomachs and drained their blood. Then, they added all sorts of powders that Xiaochen did not recognize. Not far away were the corpses of human martial sages. It was clear that the cultivators who turned in the human corpses received much more rewards. The vicinity of the corpse refining pool was quiet and orderly. Seeing the other party turn the human corpses into demonic corpses, even someone as calm as Xiaochen felt startled. No wonder the people of the various races did not like to interact with the corpse race. Just the thought of a group of people making one unable to rest in peace after death made one tremble in fear. If not for the corpse race being strong enough, they would have been killed thousands of times already. Xiaochen's figure flashed and he flew over. When he arrived above the corpse refining pool, he started to size it up. The corpse refining pool was rectangular, 500 meters long and 100 meters wide. Its surface was sinister, and black water surged. With just one glance, one would feel extremely uncomfortable, nauseous. There should be a formation under the pool. The formation lines were made of blood, and astral cores were embedded in the nodes of the formation. If one wanted to destroy this corpse refining pool, one had to break this formation and bury the entire place. However, not to mention the patrolling corpse race cultivators, there were 4 superior-grade martial sages sitting in the 4 corners of the corpse refining pool. That alone put Xiaochen in a difficult position. Each of the 4 old men had a demonic corpse shrouded in black aura beside them. Based on their auras, they should have been superior-grade martial sages. These were bona fide superior-grade sage-grade demonic corpses, no weaker than superior-grade martial sages. Suddenly Xiaochen frowned. He had not expected those 2 to be here. It was the scholarly Long Fei and the physical body cultivator Kuei Do, whom Xiaochen had met once before. The 2 walked over in high spirits and stopped before the corpse refining pool. Then they looked at it with interest. This was somewhat difficult to deal with. Xiaochen's predictions were completely wrong. Not only was there Long Fei, but there was also the Iron Hand Sovereign's descendant, Kuei Do. Corpses floated up and down in the corpse refining pool. The corpse race martial sages in the 4 corners occasionally formed hand seals, activating the formation under the pool. Beams of dark light shot out from the pool. When the dark light landed, a demonic corpse took form. It walked stiffly to a coffin at the side, closed the coffin, and lay down inside. Immediately, the other corpse race cultivators stuck labels on the coffins, recording the strength of the demonic corpse before transporting it away. The mini coffins at the back were truly dazzling. There were at least 1,000 of them, all of them monarch martial sages. There were also a few dark-colored coffins containing sage-grade demonic corpses, the true trump cards of the corpse race. Sage-grade demonic corpses already possessed some intelligence. Low-ranked sage-grade demonic corpses already possessed the strength of a martial sage. High-ranked sage-grade demonic corpses were as strong as superior-grade martial sages. As Kuei-do looked at the demonic corpses that occasionally leaped out of the corpse refining pool, he smiled and said, "With these nearly endless demonic corpses, it would be hard for the corpse race to lose on this dragonwood star." The scholarly Long Fei waved his folding fan and said seriously, "That is not entirely true. Only monarch-grade demonic corpses can be produced in batches. Sage-grade demonic corpses require more effort and time. Of course, if it is just a battle of this scale, as long as the corpse refining pool is not destroyed, the final victor will be our corpse race." Kuei-do smiled and nodded. Monarch-grade demonic corpses are nothing in the eyes of experts. However, in the end, they do not require any capital. If 100 monarch-grade demonic corpses can wear down an inferior-grade martial sage, that would be a profit. The two circled the corpse refining pool, chatting as they walked. The 4 corpse race old men occasionally chatted with them as well. When Xiaochen saw all this, he entered deep thought. Right now, he had to face 4 older generation superior-grade martial sages of the corpse race, 4 superior-grade sage-grade demonic corpses, and 2 young demonic geniuses that far surpass regular superior-grade martial sages. Based on the auras of the 4 corpse race older generation martial sages, they were not ordinary superior-grade martial sages. They were all old monsters that had lived for hundreds of years. Their cultivations were unfathomable. Even in a one-on-one fight, Xiaochen was not confident of defeating them within 100 moves. If there was a superior-grade sage-grade demonic corpse, killing them would be even more problematic. Without at least 1,000 moves, it would be hard to determine the victor. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.